Good afternoon, everyone. It's 1 p.m. I'd like to call the 9th meeting of the Planning Environment Committee to order. For council chambers, please check the city website for additional meeting detail information. The City of London is situated on the traditional lands of Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, Lenapehoik, and Adirondack. We honor and respect the history, languages, and culture of the diverse Indigenous people who call this territory home. The City of London is currently home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit today. As representatives of the people of the City of London, we are grateful to have the opportunity to work and live in this territory. The City of London is committed to making every effort to provide alternate formats and communication supports for meetings upon request. To make a request specific to this meeting, please contact PEC, P-E-C @london.ca or 519-661-2489, extension 2425. At this time, I'll look for any disclosures of pecuniary interest. Seeing none, we'll move on to consent items. We do have a delegation status for 2.2 and have been asked to have 2.1 pulled. So, as is our custom, we will move the consent items to the end of the meeting after the scheduled items. So we will move right into scheduled items at this point. So starting with 3.1, this is regarding 35 Jim Ashton Street. I'll look for a mover to move into public participation meeting. Councillor Pelosi, seconded by Councillor Hillier, and I'll
Closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
Okay, I'll ask if the applicant is here. I'd like to address the committee. I don't see anyone in the chambers. I'll ask if someone's online. I don't see anyone, so I'll look for any member of the public that would like to address the committee on this item. Seeing none, I'll look for a motion to close the public participation meeting. Councillor Cuddy, seconded by Councillor Hillier, and we'll call that.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. So I'll put this item on the floor. Looking for a motion. Councillor Cuddy.
I so move.
You're moving the staff's recommendation. I'll look for a seconder. Councillor Pelosi. Motion moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, then we'll go right to the vote. I'll call the
Closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
Okay, moving on to 3.2. I'll look for a motion to open the public participation meeting. Moved by Councillor Hillier, seconded by Councillor Pelosi, and we'll call that.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. If the applicant is here, please, ma'am, give us your name, and you have 5 minutes.
Good afternoon, committee members, staff, and members of the public. My name is Taylor Whitney, Intermediate Planner with Selinka Priama Limited, the land use planning consultants representing Rand Developments, the landowner of 415 Oxford Street West. We are pleased to be here today with the second iteration of this application. As you may be aware, we appeared before this committee in late 2024 with an application on these lands that was considered to be too intense by both city staff and this committee. That application was withdrawn with the intent of having further discussions with city staff to come up with a plan with a scale and intensity that would be more appropriate for the lands. Since then, we've had multiple discussions with both planning and engineering staff and are happy to be here with a positive recommendation for approval on the revised proposal. I would like to thank Catherine Matten, Michaela Hines, and Brent Lambert specifically for their ongoing work and collaboration to get us here today. Together with staff, we've resolved the concern of overintensity by reducing the overall building height and number of units on the lands, and we've come up with a creative solution to address the fact that the Mud Creek Channel reconstruction is not yet complete and final flood lines not yet established. The open space zone boundary will need to be adjusted for the proposed development to proceed. At this time, the open space boundary is proposed to remain as is until the Mud Creek Channel reconstruction is complete and final flood lines determined. At that time, staff will initiate a housekeeping amendment to update the open space zoning to reflect the Mud Creek Channel realignment as described in the staff report. We agree with and appreciate this approach and do not object to the proposed holding provisions recommended by staff. We appreciate this committee's consideration of the application, and I'm available to answer any questions. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. So I'll look for members of the public that'd like to address the committee on this item. Clerk, if there's anyone online. Okay, seeing none, I'll look for a motion to close the PPM. Councillor Cuddy, seconded by Councillor Pelosa, and we'll call that vote.
Counselor Hillier, closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
Okay, before we open up to committee, I just want to go to staff because there is a bit of a complication with Mud Creek and the neighboring development. And I'm wondering if you could just expand on what the applicant spoke about to kind of give us up to date, where's Mud Creek, at in that project? And how is that implicating, what are the implications for this particular zoning request and also the neighboring development?
Thank you, and through the chair. So as the agent outlined, the subject lands are constrained by the presence of Mud Creek, which runs along the entire frontage of these lands. However, given that Mud Creek is planned to be realigned, staff are satisfied that development can occur with appropriate buffers to the future Mud Creek complete corridor. Nevertheless, in this case, given the open space zone boundary is dependent on Mud Creek, regulatory flood limits being established, zoning approval to amend the open space zone boundary is considered premature at this time. And for this reason, the line of the open space zone before you does not reflect what is ultimately needed for the development as proposed. And the recommended zoning was done in this way to establish the residential zone and lock in those site layout and building design features that should be carried forward in the future development of the subject lands through special revisions without the need for another zoning bylaw amendment application by the developer. Specifically, the recommended zoning establishes the zone that can be expanded on the larger site at the appropriate time, noting that staff have confirmed that a city-initiated zoning bylaw amendment to relocate the zone line after the Mud Creek project establishes the development limit will occur. And Mud Creek realignment in front of the property, however, will be developed by the applicant. It also should be noted that 2 holding provisions are also being recommended. An H8 and an H125 should be applied to ensure the creek channel and stormwater works are completed prior to development, and to ensure that servicing and access from the adjacent plan of subdivision is also received. And I'll now turn it to stormwater to give an update on the Mud Creek project.
Thank you. Okay, so now I'll put this item on the floor for our committee. Councillor Pelosa.
Thank you. I can move staff recommendation.
Okay, I have a seconder. Councillor Cuddy seconds. Motion moved and seconded. Open for debate. So again, I'll come from the chair. Until Mud Creek is completed, development will not happen on this site. Is that, am I understanding that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and then what are we looking at for completion for Mud Creek? Do we have an idea, roughly?
Thank you, and through the chair, the current phase of the Mud Creek led by the city will be completed by the end of this year. That covers the land south of Oxford Street. This component is going to be led by the private developers to the north in a partnership. So that timing is subject to the development community as to when that is designed and constructed. There is budget, though, in the DC starting in 2027 for that channel.
Okay, so my understanding is that this developer will be participating in the completion of Mud Creek, is that correct?
It is correct that the design of this component is the responsibility of this developer, yes.
Okay, all right, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Councilor Purple.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, to the staff. The comment I just heard is that the budget is going to be it's budgeted in 2027. How is that going to coincide with the project or by the end of this year, what the chair just said? If you can just clarify that one for me.
So I'll go to staff.
Thank you, and through the chair. So what we're calling Phase 3 of Mud Creek, which is the works led by the private development community, the budget's available 2027. That basically just correlates with the timing of the previous phases. And we've spoken to the developers, and that timing is sufficient.
Councilor.
Perfect. Thank you. No more questions.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, we have a motion moved and seconded, and I'll call that vote.
I want to say something.
Oh, hold on a second, please.
Sorry, Chair. Councillor Trapso's online.
Sorry.
That,
Hold
that's
on,
okay.
Counselor, hold on a second, please. Sorry, Counselor, we didn't see your hand in the air, but you were able to get in there in time, so please go ahead.
Well, let me start by saying that very early in my term, I was visited by the proponents here, and I really appreciate the fact that they've consulted with me a few times. I don't have any serious objection to this project going through. I've not heard from any of the neighbors, largely because I don't think there are any neighbors in terms of where this is configured. So this was easier than the one next to it. And I understand that there's going to be a holding provision that will take a while to be complete. The one question that I would like clarified, though, is the street access is not going to be, if I understand this, the street access is going to be coming from the new roads that are going to be built as part of the adjacent subdivisions. Is that correct?
I'll go to staff.
Thank you. Through the chair, that is correct, that the access will be connected to the future neighborhood street within the adjacent property. We would like to limit access to arterial roads as much as possible. So we consider that orderly development. Thank you.
Counselor.
Thank you. And I'm not going to repeat all of the objections that I raised in the previous application with respect to the connection of Westfield and Beaverbrook and the effect that that'll have on traffic in the area. I don't think there's anything by way of additional condition, though, that I can offer on this project. I think much is going to be contingent on how the adjacent development proceeds with respect to Westfield. But if I may ask staff if they can just give us a rough estimate as to when the other adjacent streets will be completed such that this building could be put into service.
Yeah, I'll go to staff. I know that the other development is going to be spread over like many years, like 15, 20 years. However, with regards to our plans for streets, I'll go to staff on that question.
Through the chair, it's my understanding that the adjacent subdivision has not yet received draft approval. So we don't have an approximate timeframe that we can report back on, unfortunately. It's dependent on the outcome of that process.
Counselor?
Well, if that's the answer, that's the answer, and I don't think there's anything else that I can ask. Is there a general? Does the developer have a general timeline as to when they think they'll be taking out a building permit on this project?
I'll go to the applicant. Maybe you can give us some clarity on that.
Yes, through you, Chair. Ideally, as soon as possible, but as it's been noted, it really is contingent on the neighboring development.
Right. Counselor?
Well, okay. Thank you very much, and I wish you luck with this project. We certainly need the housing, and I've looked at your plans, and it looks very nice. I retain my concerns about Westfield Drive, but that is not part of this development, so I don't have any further questions.
Thanks, Counselor. Yeah, I mean, this is a very complex build. I think it's with the other development, Mud Creek, and then some new roads put in over many years. It is complex, but good work to staff because it's an incredible amount of housing coming in open space right now, perfect for infill. So I guess those are my 2 cents. Okay, now I'll go back to committee, asking once again if there's any more conversation to be had. Seeing none, I'll call the vote.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
Okay, moving on to 3.3. This is regarding 928 to 934 Oxford Street West. I'll look for a motion to open the PPM. Councillor Hillier, seconded by Councillor Cuddy. I'll call that vote.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. I'll ask the applicant if like to address the committee. Please, sir, give us your name and you have 5 minutes.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Mike Davis with Civic Planning and Design. You're here today on behalf of the ownership group of 928 and 934 Oxford Street West. Excited to be reaching this milestone. As many on this committee will recall, the ownership group was previously pursuing a development of 934 Oxford Street in isolation. They had the opportunity to acquire the adjacent parcel. They've done that, and we're now presenting an expanded development concept. We feel there's a number of benefits with this concept. Namely, it improves the functionality of the site and addresses some of the concerns around access that were noted through the previous process. We're in agreement with the staff report with one exception. The staff report is recommending a 3-meter parking area setback along the rear lot line. We are providing 1.5. The stated intent in the staff report for the expanded setback is to allow for tree preservation. There is no additional tree preservation that will occur as a result of that expanded setback. So that's just one point I wanted to make. And of course, it will have significant impacts to the development concept through the loss of parking or the shrinking of the building. So with that, I'd ask for your support for the 1.5 meter setback to ensure that this development can proceed. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll look for other members of the public that would like to address the committee on this item. Is there anyone on?
Oh, sorry, I'm online though.
That's fine. I'm just about to ask the clerk if there were anyone was. You're online, so you're up. If you could please give us your name and you have 5 minutes.
Sure, my name's Stephen Azis. And good afternoon, Chair and members of the Planning and Environment Committee. Thank you for allowing me the chance to speak today. I live a few minutes walk from 934 Oxford Street West, and I'm a resident who cares about our neighborhood and the safety and the long-term impact of this development. First, I want to raise concerns about the trees on the property. I've personally walked the site, taken photos, and measured trees. Some of them are over 50 centimeters in diameter, which should qualify them for protection under London's tree protection bylaw. Yet the developer's tree report either downplays their size or doesn't mention them at all. Some of these trees have already been cut or significantly trimmed before rezoning has even been approved, which I find concerning. I respectfully ask the council to conduct an independent site inspection to verify the current tree data and to ensure the integrity of the tree bylaw is upheld. My next concern is traffic and safety. The development proposes 24 units and 20 parking spaces. all accessed through a single entrance at the top of a steep hill. That hill already poses a challenge, especially in winter. And in fact, in the 1980s, somebody tragically lost their life backing out of a driveway on that same stretch. We also have 2 schools, a retirement residence nearby, and this won't be a minor traffic increase. It's a serious safety issue that needs proper review. Drainage is another issue. The property sits on a slope right now. The trees and ground absorb the stormwater, but once it's paved and developed, where will that runoff go? If a formal storm, water, or drainage plan hasn't been submitted yet, I believe it absolutely must be, and reviewed by engineering staff for any approval. Waste management is also unclear. 24 units generate a significant amount of garbage. The site plan doesn't show where waste will be stored, collected, or how odors and pests will be managed, which are practical day-to-day concerns for the neighbors. Finally, the development just doesn't fit the neighborhood. The surrounding homes are low density, mostly single family. There's nothing else like this mid-sized, and it would fundamentally change the look of the neighborhood. The tenants currently living at 934 Oxford Street West have lived there for over 50 years. One of the tenants is now in palliative care in a hospital bed, confined to a hospital bed. These buildings are not vacant, and they're not forgotten. Earlier today, the landlord's third attempt to evict them through the Landlord and Tenant Tribunal was dismissed, again, for not following proper procedures. In that hearing, the landlord even suggested that it might be easier to demolish the buildings and sell it to a developer. So I ask that you not only review the technical planning issues, but also consider the human cost of accelerating this proposal. Let's take time to get it right. Let's verify the tree data independently. Let's assess the traffic risks, and let's ensure drainage and garbage plans are actually in place. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll look for the next speaker. I don't see anyone in chambers. I'll ask the clerk if there's anyone else online. Seeing no one else would like to, oh, I see a hand up. Please, sir. Hi. Can I ask you to come down to the mic? Give us your name and you have 5 minutes.
Hi, my name is Andrew Palmetier. My father is actually the man in palliative care. My parents have owned 934 since, I believe, 1974. There's been some major issues with the developer, or Ali Yusuf to be specific. There was contingencies when we sold the house to this man that my father was insured that his terminal illness and loss of life was going to be able to be carried out in this home. This was very important to my mother when the sale of this property was made originally. I hope there is consideration for his life. We've had multiple doctors examine him and write letters in his defense that if this is approved and the plan goes on forward, he will not survive the transition, as there is nowhere to safely put him or my mother, who is also very much disabled and needs her own medical help. Another issue is, as I believe the speaker, Steve, mentioned, was the traffic plan. I've personally lived there for 35 years, and I know that it is a nightmare, even just for an Amazon guy trying to pull into these properties and to back out safely on that hill. I was skeptical when I heard there is the previous plan for about, I believe it was 10 cars. I thought that was beyond too many. Now to basically, for lack of a better word, sardine can and sandwich 20 vehicles in there with 23 additional families. I truly believe that there should have been a traffic report or some sort of pollution report updated with the plan that was submitted to the city. My hope is these considerations will be taken by you guys seriously, and This process could be thoroughly examined further, and as again, Steve said, not accelerated. That's all. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I'll look for any other members of the public who'd like to address the committee. Anyone online, clerk? Okay, I see no others that would like to address. I'll look for a motion to close PPM. Councillor Cuddy, seconded by Councillor Hillier, and we'll call.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
So there are a few questions from the public there that I'd like to just pass to staff right now. Regarding traffic, at what point is a traffic study done, or has one been done, or does that go at site plan? And is there room enough so that cars don't back out onto Oxford, but they're coming out front ways?
Thank you. Through the chair, typically, like a traffic study is triggered by 100 units or more. So in this case, we have 24, and it's on a civic boulevard. It's got adequate separation between the intersections as well. It meets our access management guidelines. And also sight lines were deemed adequate as well during the review. I know it was mentioned the hill was a concern, but they are at the top of the hill, which gives them more sight line. I think there's questions about, backing out onto Oxford Street. Yeah, we, through the site plan control bylaw, we have a requirement for clear throat distance, which I think is about 6 meters. So that will provide enough space for people to get out. Drainage and grading, I think, were brought up as well. That will be reviewed and assessed through the site plan application, but what I can tell you is it will be controlled by the parking lot grading, and then the drainage will go into a catch basin and then out through the storm sewer. So we're going to be collecting all that storm water, putting it into the ground and out to Oxford Street. Yeah, I think that's it. Thanks.
Good, I'm glad you covered off the drainage. The waste management, would that have been planned out now, how they're going to manage the waste from this development?
Thank you for the question, and through the chair. On the site plan, potential waste collection point is located on the southeast corner of the site, and these details will be further refined through the site plan approval process.
Southeast corner, okay, thank you. And one further question, this is regarding demolishing the buildings. If this rezoning was allowed, that does not mean the applicant can go in and demolish the buildings. A separate permit would be needed for that. Is that correct? And where along the process does that happen?
Through the chair. So that would be a requirement to submit a permit to be able to allow for that demolition. So they can technically come in with that application anytime, and we'd review it and be able to provide either authority to be able to demolish or not demolish based on their submission. So we haven't, that in my knowledge, received a demolition request at this time, but it would likely come after an approval such as the one being sought today.
And finally, there was some concern raised about the purchase of sale agreement that provisions were allowed for the existing occupant to stay there for a prescribed period of time. Before a demolition permit is given, do we do anything to see if there's any legal reason why that the buildings should stay up?
Through the chair, we would be confirming the ownership of the property, so it would have to be the owner that submitting the application would have to have the authority to be able to act on behalf of that property. So that is something that we would be confirming, than just the ownership piece. We're not party to anything any agreements further from that. So that definitely would be something that we'd want to have from the applicant's perspective, like have a good legal basis for being able to submit their application to us.
Okay, thank you. So those are all the questions I had down from the public there. So I'll put this on the floor now for committee members. Deputy Mayor Lewis.
Thank you, Chair, and through you, I am not moving the staff recommendation. I'm going to move an alternate recommendation, which addresses the 3 meter and the 1.5 meter parking area setback. Language has been provided to the clerk. I asked staff to help prepare proper clerk language for that, so that's with the clerk to have an e-scribe now. So it would be the staff recommendation with the one small change that we impose the 1.5 meter parking area setback in compliance with the section 6.2B of the City of London Site Control Plan bylaw, rather than the 3 meter urban design guideline recommended. And then once I've got a seconder, I'll speak to it further.
Okay, so that, just check with the clerk, that's in e-scribe right now. And the only change you're making, Council or Deputy Mayor, is the setback provision? Okay, thank you. Do you have a seconder? Councilor Hillier, second. So do you want to speak to that right now? Please go ahead.
Yeah, so through you, and we heard from the applicant, but I do want to give staff a chance to respond as well. The applicant did submit a tree preservation and protection plan for us. They also submitted, it was circulated to me through my council email. I'm not sure if anyone else saw it because it was last night that it came through, but the two maps, one with the 1.5 meter and one with the 3 meter setback. And from my read of it, it in fact, the setback difference does not preserve any additional trees according to the tree preservation plan that I took a look at. But I do want to see if there's any, if staff wants to provide any comment to that or not. I recognize that, you know, urban design guidelines are nice to have, but they're guidelines. And so for me, the site plan control bylaw with the 1.5 meters seems to be the one we should be going with. So just looking for any comment on that, if there is any.
So I'll go to staff on that.
Thank you, and through the chair, the reason that staff is recommending the 3 meter rear parking setback has to do with the applicant requested front yard setback, which is reduced, which takes away opportunities for tree planting in front along Oxford Street. And in order to compensate and to provide as many trees as possible on the site, as the development and the site are quite maxed out, we are recommending the rear yard parking setback of 3 meter to encourage as many trees as possible. But as Deputy Mayor Lewis mentioned, 1.5 meters is the minimum required in the site plan control bylaw. Thank you.
Councilor or Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, so to me, that's the crux here is our site plan control bylaw says 1.5 meters. There's minimal room in the front yard for additional tree planting because of a 6.4 meter city initiated road widening dedication for potential widening of Oxford Street in the future. So that's land we're taking that leaves the applicant less room to plant trees. It doesn't actually prohibit the potential for public tree planting along the Civic Boulevard in the event of an ultimate road widening, if that actually comes to pass. As colleagues know, we had a pretty substantive debate about Wonderland road widening and the costs associated with that. So I'm not sure that Oxford road widening is necessarily immediately something that we're going to see potentially coming, although we're protecting the road widening dedication allowance. I understand that, but I don't foresee a widening happening there in, well, frankly, in my lifetime, looking at city budgets and what we have on the GMSI for future infrastructure projects. So to me, I think we have to stick to our site plan control bylaw. The other component of this being we would be eliminating, because the parking stalls would no longer be long enough, we would be in essence eliminating 13 parking spots and forcing a redesign of the site to accommodate parking. While there is transit access, we have 24 units and only 20 parking stalls now. eliminating 13 parking stalls under this plan would actually put us below the 0.5 parking minimums that are required by our own zoning bylaws. So by implementing the 3-meter urban design guideline rather than the 1.5 meter bylaw guideline, we would actually be creating a situation where we're not able to approve the zoning because the parking minimums would not be met with the elimination of those stalls. So that is the reason I'm moving that amendment.
Thank you. I'll look for other speakers to this. Councilor Pribble.
Thank you, sir. The chair, question to the staff. If I look at rear yard setback, it says 1.2 meters per 3 meters of main building. That is the required. Proposed, it says 1 meter per 1 meter of main building. So we came up, the building, if I remember correctly, it's about 13 meters. Is that how we came up how did we come up with that 1.5 meter, or the applicant?
Go to staff.
Sorry about that. Thank you, and through the chair. Just to clarify, we're speaking about two different things here. This is the rear yard setback from the main building to the property line and not as previous the parking setback. So as required, it is 1.2 meters per 3 meters of main building height. But the applicant has provided an additional regulation that goes above and beyond that, which is what we have captured in the zoning bylaw.
Councilor.
Thank you. Follow up. So for me to have the understanding, so it is what we are talking about here, your yard setback is between the building and the parking lot. We are not talking about the parking lot and the property line, correct?
Through the chair, that is correct.
Thank you. No more questions.
Thank you. I just want to follow up on that. So when we're talking about a 3-meter buffer, that's at the back of the parking lot to the back property line. Is that correct? And the applicant is looking, and the motion is to change that down to 1.5. Okay, thank you. Other comments or questions? Councilor Pelosi.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A question through you to staff regarding the tree caliper. When something is submitted, do city staff ever, I know different tree species have different calipers. Just looking for comments on if there's a discrepancy of what residents are reporting is there versus what a report said was there, if staff follows up, or we just go by the report that was submitted.
I'll go to staff.
Thank you, and through the chair. There are two pieces to this. One is that the tree preservation plan was submitted as part of this application, has been reviewed by our landscape architecture, and those comments are included in the appendix of this report. Further, as this application will also go through the site plan process, the tree preservation plan will again be reviewed as part of that process, and any potential adjustment that will be made will be done through the SPA process. Thank you.
Councilor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A question through you to, I don't think staff can answer this one for us because Mr. Mathers kind of already had a stab at it. My concern is with the current owners who are in the state of palliative care, looking to see if there's any comments from the applicant, realizing the city's process can take some time to work our way through these approvals and then site plan before shovels actually hit the ground, that two of these things can happen simultaneously. Just looking to see, having not been privy to the purchase and sale agreement, if the intention is to allow the resident to finish out his time in the home and still meet the timelines of this application.
I'll go to the applicant.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To Councillor Pelosi, unfortunately, to be quite honest with you, like I'm not privy to all of the details of the kind of land deals, purchase and sale agreements, existing kind of tenancies in the properties. So our role is really just focused on that kind of planning and rezoning process. So I just don't have any additional details about the inner workings of that. As some on the committee pointed out, approval of the kind of zoning bylaw amendment doesn't trigger or set in motion some chain of events that results in some type of de facto kind of removal or acceleration of that process, there are additional kind of legal measures and processes through the Residential Tenancies Act that kind of guide all situations like this.
Counselor?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Not sure if information could be provided in advance of if you can check with your client in advance of our vote at council. I realize we have different roles that we're filling and different legal obligations and boxes that we're in a process. I just would never want to think that council and our approvals a workaround for another deal that was in place.
Other comments, Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Chair. I did want to come back. I missed providing one detail to colleagues. In changing the setback, I did include in the site plan approval authority be requested to consider. There is an additional clause for explore opportunities for an increased parking setback. Well, we're not setting a 3-meter setback. The applicant had indicated that as they go through detailed design process, that perhaps 2 meters is something they can do or somewhere in between. And so rather than box in a specific number above the site plan control, there is an additional clause that indicates the parking setback be looked at through the site plan process. So I wanted to draw colleagues' attention to that. So rather than the 3 meters, it just moves it to site plan to look at opportunities for a further setback. I also wanted to take a moment quickly to comment as well with the conditions of sale concern. And as was mentioned, similarly, our role here at Planning and Environment Committee is specific to rezoning matters. We cannot get involved in private civil matters or make planning decisions based on private civil matters. So that would be a matter between the purchaser and the seller of the property. And as indicated, yes, there might be Residential Tenancies Act components. There might be some additional legal steps, but the city is not a party to that. And we're not a mediator between civil disputes. So I just think that it's important to underline, we can't consider that in our planning decision. We have to follow the zoning changes in the planning guidelines in our official plan. And civil matters are something that have to be sorted out between the buyer and the seller.
Okay, thank you. Other comments or questions from committee? I'm going to ask Councillor Pelosi to take the chair because I have...
Thank you. I have the chair recognizing Councillor Lehman.
Thank you, because I'm going to be speaking against the motion. That's why I didn't hand the chair to the vice chair. For me, I would have, I'm okay to see this project go ahead. However, I'm concerned about the setback and those folks that live behind it, especially now that this is a more of a substantial build. 3 meters to 1.5 meters doesn't sound like much of a difference, but that's 9 steps versus, 3.5 steps, or is that correct? Something like that was my math, 4 steps. Or feet, it's even less. Anyway, for those folks that have had a backyard behind them and now they're going to have a parking lot behind them and cars parked right up to their boundary along the back, I don't think is suitable for this type of thing. So I won't be supporting the motion. Thank you, Presiding Chair.
Thank you. Letting you know you've used 50 seconds of your 5-minute allotment. I'll hand the chair back to you, recognizing Councillor Trousseau's online with his hand up.
Thank you, and I'll go to Councillor Trousseau.
Thank you very much. Just to clarify, with planning, when a demolition permit is requested, and there's no heritage issue with the property, then that is something that's issued over the counter without any need for notice to anybody else or a hearing or anything like that. Is that correct?
I'll go staff.
Through the chair, yes, that's correct.
Okay,
Counselor?
So I think we have to keep in mind that the fact that a demolition permit is going to have to be received from the city doesn't really help the situation. Now, I want to take issue with the contention that we can't worry about what the human implications are to people in the area. We have just been put on notice that there's a very substantial problem with this application in terms of extreme hardship that it's going to cause somebody. And we've also been put on notice that there already has been litigation between in the form of a residential tenant board application that seems problematic. And while I certainly am not in a position to offer an amendment today or a request that we go into private session, I will raise this. I will raise this at the council meeting. I will not be supporting this application based on what I've heard, and I have very grave concerns about how this application is going to affect the rights and obligations of a party here. And I don't think the city can just wash its hands and say it's just not our concern. They'll have to work that out. So just so there are no surprises, I will be raising this as a member of council, and I want to express my exceptional unhappiness with how this is proceeding. And I hope this committee votes this down, because I don't think this is right.
Okay, thank you. And Councilor, what I might suggest, and I might do this myself, is to confer with our, legal counsel prior to council meeting, so we can kind of get some things covered off, or just from me personally, from my own information on that legal question, because, it's a good point. Okay, any other comments or conversation? We've got a motion moved and seconded. I'll call the vote.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 3-2.
Thank you. Moving ahead now to 3.4. This is regarding 743 Richmond Street. I'll look for a motion to open the PPM. Councilor Pelosi, seconded by Councilor Hillier. And
Closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
okay, I'll ask if the applicant is here, would like to address committee. I see you, sir, up at the top there. Please give us your name. You have 5 minutes.
My name is Greg Gilbert. I'm Vice President of Planning for the owner applicant Fitzrovia. I'm also joined by David Galbraith, Principal at Up Consulting, to discuss the planning aspects, and then partner at Hariri Pontarini Architects, Michael Attard. So we'll be brief. Just want to talk a little bit about our firm, the site, and the project in front of you today. I understand the clerk's office has circulated a presentation to the members of the committee, so just if you want to maybe pull that up, if that's an option. Fitzrovia is Canada's most active rental developer. This is our first new project outside of the GTA. How we differ ourselves from our competition: we're completely vertically integrated. We develop, build, asset manage, and property manage all in-house. We have over 350 staff at our headquarters in Midtown Toronto. We have over 8 towers completed to date, with 15 at various stages of construction and development. Moving on through the slides, just looking at the long-term commitment to quality and community. We are builders, but we're also long-term owners and operators, and that really drives the decisions we make when we're designing our buildings. We're obsessed with the details. Anything you see, touch, interact with, we put special emphasis on. Our secret sauce is customer service and keeping our tenants happy. Our buildings are highly amenitized, well-designed, and full of activity. All of our projects in those slides are actually under construction, and we do our best to make them look like the renderings. And we've been rewarded with a recent award, Best New Community Built at the Build Awards for our 88 Queen project, just a testament of the work we do. This project is especially important to us. As I mentioned, our first project outside of the GTA in Montreal. Many of our senior staff on this project went to post-secondary education in London. It's a very important intersection for the city, located at Richmond and Oxford. And I'm just going to turn it over to our planning consultant to discuss the site a bit better.
Good afternoon. My name is Dave Galbraith. I'm the president of Up Consulting and a planner retained for this project. Before you today is an official plan amendment and zone change application to facilitate the development of a 35-story mixed-use development containing 512 units and approximately 200 square meters of commercial space at grade. In addition to that, 77 parking stalls are proposed to be provided within the development in 3 levels of underground parking. The subject property is 743 Richmond Street, which currently contains a 2-story multi-unit commercial building, which is primarily empty or vacant at this time. The site itself has a lot area of 1,400 square meters with 40 meters of frontage along Richmond Street. Looking at the site within its context, it's north of the downtown core area of the city, but really located at a gateway intersection of Oxford and Richmond. Well served by transit and close proximity to a number of amenities, commercial uses, and parks in the area. As I'd mentioned before, the site does contain an existing 2-story commercial building, which is largely vacant, and there are a number of photos showing the existing state of repair of that building as it exists today. So one of the key elements of this development is that it is truly transit supportive, being located at Oxford and Richmond, connected to 5 existing bus routes and very walkable, well connected by active transportation infrastructure as well. Within the London plan itself, the site is designated rapid transit corridor and subject to a special policy area. And then the corresponding zoning within the zoning bylaw is office residential / business district commercial. All of these designations support transit supportive developments such as being contemplated here. So the purpose of the application for the official plan amendment is to permit the 35 stories contemplated, and then there is a corresponding zone change application dealing with a number of site-specific matters related to tower separation, bike parking as well. We've had a chance to review the staff report and have enjoyed working with staff on this file, and we are supportive of the recommendation today. We did note that one concern with the site plan was raised here with regards to a couple of lay-by parking spaces proposed on Oxford. We are amenable to removing those parking spaces and in that location or general location, additional bike parking will be provided. So with that, I'll hand it over to the architect.
Not much time, sorry. I'll be brief. I'm better at drawing than describing, but just in general, we are looking to really activate this corner. This is an idea for a project that is going to energize and bring an experience to that corner. We've got a podium that is working in a kind of dynamic scale. It's activated by a cafe that's a kind of fixture of the Fitzrovia developments that will anchor that corner that ties into a welcoming, warm student lobby. We've got retail, again, that's activating both Oxford and Richmond. All of the services are being located across the laneway that are kind of hidden and tucked away so that we can really activate the street frontage. As you move up through the building, you have your first layer above that, which is where community begins. It's this amenity floor where students can come, they can relax, they can gather, they can eat and socialize. It's an important part of the building. It's about building a community. And then as the building kind of stretches up quietly into a tower form, we've got this vertical expression that's really about kind of creating shelter and a sense of containment as part of these living quarters, ultimately kind of working their way up into this rooftop terrace, again, an opportunity for community, for gathering, outdoor experience, and a view out over a pool setting. Really, this is just about creating a place that's kind of trying to elevate the everyday, and I'll keep it at that, I guess, since we're short on time.
Thank you, and that's your time?
Yep.
Okay, great, good. I'll look for members of the public that would like to address the committee. Is there anyone online, clerk? No, okay. Please, sir, give us your name and you have 5 minutes.
Okay, my name is Mike Jeremchenko, business owner just across the street from this development. I guess the only reason I'm here is just parking concerns. 77 parking spots for 512 units doesn't seem nearly enough to me. I thought I heard someone say the guideline is 0.5 per unit. We have a lot of parking issues already. Our building across the road has 15 parking spots. People are regularly sort of poaching our spots from our staff. So I just think the parking is going to be the big issue here. That's my only point. Thank you.
Thank you. Look for other comments. Please, ma'am, give us your name. You have 5 minutes.
Hi, Josephine Pepe. I also have a business close by, and we also have parking spots that are limited at our office and get poached as well quite often by students that live in the neighborhood, boyfriends, girlfriends that are sleeping over. My snowplow removal gentleman has a really tough time in the winter, and so that is my biggest concern is the 77 parking spots. You know, I'm excited about the development. I just think it could have some improvements as far as having more parking. I have a colleague of mine who lives downtown in one of those new buildings. I think it's Azure, and it's a beautiful space, but I can never get a parking spot when I go to his place. If there's a Knights game or even a Lightning game, it is really challenging, and I struggle with that. Not everybody takes transit. I think it's great to have, you know, a transit-friendly city, but I also do believe that we need to have enough parking spots. Otherwise, the businesses close by end up having problems. We have patients that oftentimes, all the time we have people that come and they say, well, I'm just going to be 5 minutes, or they leave. But the overnight, especially from the students and their friends close by in the winter, is the biggest challenge for us.
Thank you. Look for other speakers. Again, I'll ask for if there's anyone online, clerk. No. I don't see anyone coming to the mic, so I'll look for a motion to close PPM. Councillor Hillier, seconded by Councillor Cuddy, and we'll call the vote.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. I just want to go to staff with a concern about parking. And I'm not too sure if we have the right, we probably don't bylaw here. Does the city offer parking enforcement on private commercial lots?
Through the chair, no, that's not a service that we offer, but there's a lot of private companies that are available to be able to provide that service to landowners.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'll go to committee members and visiting councilors for comments or questions or a motion. Councilor Cuddy.
I'll move the staff report.
Okay, we've got the staff. I'll look for a seconder. Deputy Mayor Lewis, second. So now motion moved and second. So now engage questions, comments. Deputy Mayor Lewis.
So through you, Chair, I do have a question for our staff. Like some of the neighbors have said, excited about this. Looks like a great proposal to me as well. But I did note that we have less than the 0.5 parking minimum, but it does have a staff recommendation. So I'm wondering if staff can just highlight for us why, notwithstanding that 0.5 regulation, we are recommending approval on this.
I'll go staff.
Through the chair, at present, the subject lands are actually in a parking exemption area. However, following the municipal housing approvals, it will be downgraded and will then require the parking. So this is capturing that future requirement. And staff also felt that it was appropriate given the context and access to public transit, as the corridor's place type is supposed to be transit supportive.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And see, I just learned something. I didn't know we had a parking exempt area in that corner of the city. So that's good to know. And certainly with the target audience with students in particular, I would expect that there's an anticipation, particularly as student passes are part of their transit passes are part of their student fees, that there would be an expectation that it's going to be more transit reliant than some other buildings might be, where we're talking about, you know, single professionals or young couples getting started, or older couples retiring and downsizing to a condo type setting. So I do appreciate that. I think I'll leave it at there for now and see what other colleagues have to say, but I do think that this is a great design. Looks like a good opportunity for some infill, for some student housing in close proximity to the university and with great access to both the Oxford transit line as well as the Richmond lines running up to Western University. So I'll conclude my comments there for now.
Look for other comments, Councilor Plaza.
Thank you. I know it's a little bit out of order, but whenever we hear from the ward councillor before we proceed with some of the other questions I might have.
Sure, I was waiting for him to put his hand up, but I see he put his hand up, so I'll go to Councilor Ferrer.
Thanks, Chair. I was just waiting for members of committee to do the speaking first. So I guess I'll go right into, the parking questions. The deputy mayor did ask a good question on that. And I just looking for the integration into the rapid transit corridor that we're going to have there. From speaking to the proponents, they are thinking about shortly, this project will hit the ground a lot sooner than what we've seen in the past. And I just wanted to know between the timelines of when they would see that, and just to confirm, I guess before I go to you, but my question really is when would we start seeing that rapid transit designated corridor on Oxford Street starting to be constructed there relative to the actual striking of ground of the building too? So maybe I should go to the proponents first and just ask, when are you expecting to actually break ground? And then just to see if we can get those two, that answer kind of tied up there.
Okay, so I'll go to the applicant, just kind of a timeline projected of when you expect to put shovels in the ground.
So we acquired the site in March, and we're just working through the planning approvals. This is step one of several, looking at demolition probably late this year if everything falls into place. There's a lot contingent on that, but that's our best guess at the moment.
Councillor.
Thank you. So with that, we already have transit in front of the area off of Oxford as well, but as we start kind of bringing ourselves to a higher order public transit, I was just wanted to maybe ask staff if you had any idea on when we'd actually be seeing that rapid transit corridor. I guess, when will we be seeing more information back on that, on the timeline of that? And I know I didn't send that question in advance, so I apologize if you don't have the answer.
I'll go staff.
Through the chair, we don't, that will be part of the master mobility plan and implementing it. So we don't have any staff here from transportation, but we'll provide your response prior to council and give you that piece of information.
Councillor.
Okay, sounds good. Sorry for not sending that question in advance. So basically, you do see kind of the questions about the 77 parking spots that we see, but at the same time, I think that's a pretty good indication of how this development will integrate into our transit system. You see the numbers, the figures reflect that as well. So I would like to see, and I do hear that, this is being, what kind of living, what kind of tenancy are we going to see coming into that? I wouldn't necessarily say it's student. I would say it's more of an urban kind of living environment where you'll be attracting urban tenants, which will see a good portion of the student population as well. And considering that that is right at the gateway, and I'll get to that in a second, of downtown, a lot of people will be on foot. A lot of people will be using our transit system as well. So I don't foresee the parking as an issue at this time, especially when we're going to be bringing that higher order traffic or transit system in. I'd like to point out on the main gateway part for downtown, and I know the proponents spoke to this, but that's a very big, important thing for me. It's a very big area, a very high traffic area. People who aren't even visiting downtown or transiting through on Oxford seeing that. And I would guess that you would have all of Londoners' eyes on that intersection within a week. And you'll have that recurring week over week over week as time goes on. So that is a very good indication of where downtown is headed right now. And that's on the up and up. Speaking to kind of the fit, the finish, the design, the streetscape, I'm really happy to see the proponent bring that forward. And I really appreciate the conversations that we had and the feedback that you've let me give you and taking that into your design. I really think that's going to really uplift the face of that main north gateway of downtown. So I'm very excited with that, and I really appreciate the time that you guys have given me and taken me out for the site visit today. And I really appreciate the work that we've we've done so far. I'd also want to go to staff too. Thank you for moving this along. A vertically integrated company coming through and saying that they're going to strike ground by the end of the year, I think you said there. That's quite quick. So we're going to see that development quite fast. And that just speaks to kind of where downtown is going right now. I guess I'll finish it off with the last thing, and I guess I'm just going to say this because I know the BIA, or you guys might leave before we get to the BIA, but you have been asking to make a connection with the downtown BIA. The chair of the board is right there in those fancy, in the fancy pink glasses, very stylish. So I'm going to make that connection right here on the public record. They have been asking to connect with the BIA, so I'm sure they have some good initiatives there. And I guess I'll just use that to move into, you know, they did speak to the cafe that they're going to have there. They did speak to how this is going to be a community-oriented space. So it's bringing in not only the residents and the tenancy of the building once they occupy it, but they're also going to be bringing in people who are in the area, and people are going to visit that. So I'm excited what's to come, and I appreciate working with you, and I appreciate moving forward on the work that's going to be coming.
Thank you. Councilor Pelosi.
Thank you. I would also encourage the applicant to endure a little bit longer with us today, as the Downtown BIA does have their Downtown Momentum Report coming up, which will be some great highlights as well. Question through you, reading within the report about the long-term bicycle parking that they're looking at of 200 and some spaces, but zero short-term. Realizing this building will have, it appears to be a mix of indoor and outdoor amenity space and some commercial purposes. If there's a lack of parking already and it's a scarce commodity, looking to see if people choose an alternate mode of transportation, being bicycle, to get to there to support the businesses and or visit people, where are they supposed to go? Like, not everyone can walk everywhere if we want to come and visit you or be a patron of that business. So just where is that supposed to go? Either to staff or the applicant, I'm good either way.
Okay, if the applicant is comfortable answering that question, I'll go to you.
Through the chair, we've heard the feedback, some public comments, both from staff as well. We have already implemented those updates with bike rings all around the site for the upcoming site plan submission, which is targeted to be made tomorrow. There is 214 bike spaces. Our experience with these types of buildings, it's generally, we're very aspirational in active transportation, but they're generally around less than a third per unit, 0.3 bikes, like they just sit there empty, if we're being honest. So we think 214 for around 500 apartments is quite adequate, and we're going to put them all around the site, which was feedback from staff, and you're going to see that in the upcoming submission. Yeah.
Sorry, Councilor.
Thank you, and that's for public use as well when they come to be patrons versus just tenant use?
Go ahead.
Those spots around the outside are for public use, commercial use, supportive of businesses, supportive of retail, and for visitors.
Councilor.
Thank you. A question through you to staff. The report outlines lot coverage maximums of 70%, and it's running roughly at 80%. Looking to see, as it was recommended by staff, if that's just made up because there's green roof and outdoor amenity space that would compensate some of that normal requirement we'd have.
Go to staff.
Through the chair, so the 80% is because it's a quite constrained site. It's not very large, but they are still providing that amenity space on the rooftop, and they also have amenity also provided in the building as well.
Councilor.
Thank you. As I had stated that, so for clarification, that's why staff was okay with the recommendation of that space is alternated elsewhere.
Go to staff.
Through the chair, that's correct.
Councilor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councilor Hillier.
Yes, thank you. The 15% parking does concern me. We're looking at 77 spaces for 512, but I'm also wondering through staff, are there any engineering servicing issues regarding wastewater or anything like that in the future? Because we are going for a big increase in density.
Go to staff.
Thank you. Through the chair, there's no capacity concerns for this particular area. This area is not tributary to the Forks of the Thames where the constraint is. It actually takes a different route to Greenway. So in this particular area, there's no capacity constraints.
Counselor? Okay. Other comments or questions? Counselor Pribble?
Thank you, through the chair, to the applicant. I actually have a question in terms of the parking and in terms of the access. When I look at the layout, there's going to be access to the garage from both Richmond and Oxford.
We'll go to the applicant just on access points. He's asking if there's going to be 2 access points, Richmond and Oxford.
Through the chair, there's only going to be the one access point off of Oxford Street, no access point off of Richmond.
Counselor?
Okay, maybe I misunderstood. Maybe I thought that in the report it stated there's going to be a created laneway on the south side of the property, so there will be no laneway.
Oh, through the chair, there's an existing laneway that runs on the west side of the site, so that will be used for access purposes, and then there's an exit onto Oxford as well. But the laneway exists already.
Counselor?
Okay, thank you for that. And this, again, one of my curiosity. By the way, I love your dynamic and consider design. It makes it much easier to see the setup of the building. Podium facade. And I want to ask you, on the northwest corner, those 4 or 5 floors, the facade, I would imagine it's just the facade, and behind there will be the units as well, behind the facade, on the brown color on the proposal you send us.
Go to the applicant.
To the chair. Yes, that's correct. Above level 2, it becomes units again for the first few floors.
Counselor?
Thank you. No more questions.
Other comments or questions? Just a second, please. Counselor Tresso?
Thank you very much. I'll start by asking what I think is an easier question, and that is, from what I can tell, the building looks to be an all-glass exterior. Is something being done to encourage the proponent to use bird-safe glazing, at least up to the 4th story, in alignment with standards?
I'll go to staff.
Through the chair, through site plan, we have limited components that we can require in terms of materials, but we will work with the applicant to look at bird-friendly materials where they are proposing large expanses of glass.
Counselor?
Yes, and I would like to see that put in as a condition for the approval of this project, because I really worry about our ability to execute mandatory site plan requirements later on. I mean, after all, there is a provision in the London plan that talks about this. The last thing we need is a bunch of bird carcasses sitting in this wonderful gateway that we're creating in front of the cafe and everything. But I just think this is something we should get on with. That's going to be simple enough to fix. The next one, not so much. I am familiar with the challenges that the merchants in this area are facing in regards to their parking being used as overflow. Because when we had a big application up in September, I did take it upon myself to canvass a lot of the smaller merchants. I just cannot conceive of how we can put a building in of this size without a lay-by. How can we not have a lay-by? Because where are the delivery trucks? Where are the taxis? Where are the parcels? Where are the Ubers? All the delivery things. If you're going to have a building full of students, which seems to be where this is going, which is fine, you're going to have a lot of people who are just going to be there for a minute, but they're going to be there. So where are they supposed to sit?
Is that a question, Counselor, that you'd like me to pose to the applicant?
Where are the very, very short-term people who are just going to be there for a minute doing a delivery, pizza, what have you? Where are they going to stop?
I'll go to the applicant.
The way the project is designed in front of you, it's been revised a little bit from feedback we've got from staff. The lay-by will be removed from Oxford. We have a parallel pickup and drop-off area to the rear lane that goes north-south on Oxford. That's specifically designed for temporary access, pickup and drop-off, Ubers, Amazon, that kind of thing. And then there's 3 parking spaces lay-by within that drive-through area. So we've put a lot of thought into this, and we think it's adequate for the pickup and drop-offs and temporary traffic.
Well,
Oh, sorry.
Hold on a second, Counselor. The applicant was just going to add something.
Something that's very important to us is the move-in experience, especially in a building like this. We have a dedicated loading space for pickup and drop-off of garbage, and then beside that, we have a separate loading space for U-Hauls, moving vans that you could book out with direct access into the rear of the elevators that would be booked out. So getting those folks off the laneway for smooth move-ins. It's their first time experience in the building. It needs to work and it needs to be done well. That's something we have a lot of experience in.
Okay, Counselor.
Yeah, I'm not raising a concern about the move-in. I'm raising a concern about the persistent deliveries. I see what happened on the Lux further up the street, and it was just an absolute disaster. It was just an absolute disaster until the lay-by was put in. At the corner of Richmond and Oxford, you are asking for, I think, a lot of accidents to happen, and a lot of ruffled nerves, and a lot of people being rear-ended. And I think a lot more thought has to be given. And again, I am not opposed to increasing the density here, because one point you made in the slideshow that really resonates with me is this can have the effect of depressing the demand for some of the single unit occupancies in the interior of the neighborhood. And I really support that. And I think you're creating a wonderful experience for the students. I don't doubt that. I will say, though, that even though students will have the bus pass in their pockets, that doesn't mean they're not going to want to have a car downstairs, because experience does show that. So I guess my biggest concern, I think you can deal with the glass, but I am very concerned about the parking, and I'm very concerned about what's going to happen at that intersection, and I'm very concerned about the lack of a lay-by. And again, at council, I will be, I can't support this project unless those issues are dealt with. So thank you very much. And I hope this is something that everybody here takes seriously.
Thanks, Counselor. Counselor Roman.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. I want to thank the applicant for the proposal that's in front of us today and for the presentation. I would say that most of my questions were addressed through the advanced presentation, especially around the issues of parking and pickup. And I know it's a difficult concept for us to wrap our heads around the decrease in parking in this area, especially at a main intersection where we see so much congestion right now. So we're being asked to be a bit more future thinking and to think outside of what we're normally constrained with in terms of transportation in this area. I will agree, I am struggling with 77 spots. I agree with the business owners that are around the area as well. I know how difficult it can be. And for some, it's a deterrent for them to go to their businesses. So I do hope that you will take the invitation from Councillor Ferreira and the downtown BIA into consideration. Some of them are outside the BIA, but to be able to have those kinds of constructive conversations around how to be good partners and neighbors. And as you work through site plan, if there's other opportunities for consideration with parking, I think it would be important. But I do see that you are targeting a demographic, that you're asking of that demographic to consider using less cars and having less access to them. And I think that you may be rewarded with those types of tenants. So good luck, and thank you for your application.
Look for other comments or questions. Deputy Mayor.
So it's come up once, and I know the applicant's response, and I saw it in the presentation as well. But I share Councillor Trussow's concern about the lack of a lay-by. And I remember what happened with the Lux too. And I'm not necessarily convinced that delivery drivers, be it Uber Eats or Uber or Amazon or whatever, are going to pull off into an alleyway corridor to park and do their deliveries. But my understanding is it was staff's direction to remove the proposed lay-by. So I'd like staff to comment on their reasoning for removing the lay-by, particularly given our experience at the Lux.
I'll go staff.
Thank you. Through the chair. The lay-by was deemed unsafe by the Director of Transportation. It creates unsafe movements right at the intersection, and it's directly adjacent to the access to the site. So When you've got the access plus the lay-by there, there's multiple interactions with the vehicles. And being right at the intersection kind of creates an unsafe situation. So that was the direction that we received from transportation. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. So I appreciate that. I hope, and I think we've got an applicant here who's very willing to work with the city and has listened to concerns and is doing their best. So clearly for me, one of the things that I hope you'll take into consideration is very clear signage about delivery drop-off locations. But I will say I'm concerned that notwithstanding the concerns from the Director of Transportation, we're not just gonna have vehicles putting on their four-ways and stopping and blocking a lane of roadway. And to me, that's even more dangerous than a lay-by, because those vehicle movements are even less predictable when somebody is just parked and put on their four-ways to run in and do a delivery. So I'm supporting the application right now, but I'm gonna think about this before council and whether or not I want to consider asking the applicant to reinstate the lay-by or perhaps work with through site plan to look at other alternatives for vehicles. Because in my experience, where we have not put in lay-bys or where we have had side parking for short-term parking, the reality is it doesn't get used. They put on their four-ways and block the roads. And while I'm thrilled to see the increase in traffic enforcement from LPS, and I know we've got parking enforcement through our own municipal compliance division as well. We also have 4,000 kilometers of road in the city, and they can't be everywhere all the time. So I'm concerned that we're just trading one potential problem for another by not implementing a lay-by. So I'm gonna let that bounce around in my head prior to council, but I'm not sure where I'm going to land on that, but I do appreciate the answer. I understand where the thought process is coming from, but I'm just not sure that we're not trading one problem for another there.
Okay, Councilor Purple.
Thank you, Sir Chair. One more question for the applicant. On the west side of the building, there's the laneway, and then if I look at the building, it looks like there's there's nothing on that side under the building, under the first floor, and I thought that potentially that's a kind of like a drive-through. Or what is that going to be? Because it's currently it looks like an empty space to the west of the building.
Go to the applicant.
Yeah, that area is a one-way going northbound so that we can accommodate deliveries and drop-offs and Ubers and things like that. That leads back to the laneway and connects to Oxford. So the building is overhanging that space. It's a covered pickup and drop-off for residents and short-term usage.
Councilor.
Okay, thank you for that, because that's actually, when I look at the picture, that's how it looked like that to me. So I just want a confirmation. Thank you.
Other comments or questions? I'll ask the Deputy Mayor to take the chair, please.
Okay, I will take the chair and recognize Councillor Lehman.
Thank you. So I share the concerns about the lay-by because I'm familiar with what happened at Lux. Like that was blocking up traffic on Richmond at a very critical point because we had that median right there and it was very, very dangerous. And in this particular corner, if we have people stopping in front, either on Oxford Street or worse yet on Richmond where there's a transit stop right there, it's going to cause chaos. So I just want to share the concerns, but I do have confidence with staff in the site plan and also with the applicant. So I just want to ask staff, did you have a chance to visit current sites that the applicant has built in Toronto?
Mr. Mathers or Ms. McNeely?
Thank you. Through the chair, yes, the Director of Building and myself and Mr. Blazik from the Mayor's office, we attended the site. We saw several sites. And this site would compare in terms of the constraints that we're talking about today, and they were able to make it work.
Okay, thank you. And that gives me a great deal of confidence. So I'm glad you did that because this is a big city build. We're a very high dense high-traffic corner, very visible corner for the community. And I want to have the utmost confidence that they'll be able to pull this one off. I like the renderings, and I have faith that the renderings will come to fruition based on your experience and seeing what they've been able to produce in Toronto. But it's also that Toronto experience that they'll bring to London with regards to things that we've been discussing here, laybys and transit and cycling, et cetera, that more familiar in the builds there than here. We're getting there. And also the actual construction. This is a very tight area to put up a 35-story building. And it's going to require some expertise that obviously this group has. This is an important building for downtown. This is, as was mentioned by Councillor Ferreira, the northern gateway into our downtown. I think it's really going to encapsulate how London is changing in the core. We have a number of very high structures already built, more that have been given zoning approval by this committee that are in development stages. I think this is going to tie a lot of stuff together, quite frankly. I understand the concerns with merchants in the area with regarding parking. It's kind of that give-take. You get the economic vibrancy that comes when you have 500 people moving into this area. Also brings some challenges with protecting your parking for your customers and staff. I understand it, and that's an ongoing issue that downtown businesses have compared to outlying areas of malls. But it's that economic vibrancy that I'm excited about. It's seeing, it will be pedestrians because the parking, which again, I've always been of the standpoint that the people who invest, they know better the parking needs than I do. They know the customer they're going after to be in their building, and they would know based on their experience that these folks that they're going after will depend on other modes of transportation. This is, even though Let's Rapid Transit route was canceled by this council, doesn't mean there's no transit here. There's a lot of transit here. And transit's going every direction, and that will enhance with frequency, I'm hoping, as demand goes there. It's fantastic anchor, again, as I said, to the northern top end of our core. That will bring foot traffic down Richmond and then down Dundas and over to Talbot and all the great things that we have downtown. So looking forward to seeing this building go up and fully support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lehman. I'll return the chair to you, noting Councillor Ferreira has asked to come back on the speakers list.
Thank you. I'll go to Councillor Ferreira.
Unless I misread his.
No, you got to turn your mic off. There we go.
You did misread my text, but I did just make a meeting with you to connect with the proponents about the lay-by discussion. So that's what I was just texting you, just to get that moving along. So here you go on the record for that one. Thanks.
Thank you. Just one last look around for any other comments. Councilor Purple.
One last question to the applicants through the chair. Going back to it, and I tried to look up a few more photos. How many currently in that drop-off area, which I was questioning before, how many cars could fit there, do you believe? How many spots will be able to stop there and to do the drop-off pickup for the building?
I'll go to the applicant.
Through the chair, there's 3 queuing spaces shown on the site plan currently within that area.
Councillor?
Currently, potential more, or kind of this is it as per design, or is there potential additional spaces?
Go to the applicant.
In the current design, there are 3. We'd have to take a look at it.
Councillor?
Thank you. No more questions.
Any other questions, comments? We have a motion moved and seconded. I'll call the vote.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 4-1.
Thank you So that completes our scheduled items. And we will go on to the consent items that were moved to the bottom of the agenda. So I will start with 2.1, the intention to expand the Hyde Park Business Improvement Area, noting that there has been communication from Mr. Delaney and Ms. Zapkowski, both I see here today, and Mr. Disney from the Sherwood Forest Mall. So So the BIA is here to answer questions from the committee. We've got, I'm going to put it on the floor for, to get the conversation started. Okay. What's that? We can put the staff recommendation on the floor. We can have a discussion, ask some questions. Before we do that, I'll go to Councillor Hillier.
Given the nature of some of the communications that we've received, I'd like to move a referral to put this back one cycle so that the Hyde Park Business Improvement Association could have more discussions with the people they're trying to bring in.
Okay, do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Cuddy? Okay, just a second. So the clerk just wants to clarify your motion, Councillor.
Sorry, I'm just curious. Are you looking for a referral back to council or back to PEC?
Back to PEC.
Okay. All right. I'm just looking around the committee before I weigh in here. Councillor Purple.
I have a procedural question. If it's referred now, if it passes, is there going to be an opportunity to ask some questions so we kind of potentially move things forward or get some answers today? Or if the referral is passed, it's passed and there will be no discussions or questions asked?
Councillor, I'm fully prepared to have discussion now. Like you can, I'm not going to just call the referral vote. So if you have some questions or comments, please go ahead.
I do, so I would like to.
Oh, sorry, Councillor. Go ahead, your point of order.
Thank you. I know in the planning application, I asked to hear from the visiting ward counselor, but there are committee members with their hands up on this item before we go to visiting counselors. Respect.
I didn't see any.
Deputy Mayor.
Okay, sorry, I didn't.
Sorry, that's
he didn't,
okay.
when I went to
Sorry,
the
Jerry.
councillor, I didn't see the deputy mayor's hand up. I'll go up for sure. I'll go to the deputy mayor. He's the deputy mayor.
I thought Mr. Newcomb was here just to cover my return to committees after my absence for the last month, but thank you, Chair. Through you, on the referral, I'm not comfortable with the referral as it's been tabled. I do think a referral is actually necessary because I've got several questions around the low volume of response that we've gotten from the businesses in compared to the numbers. I realize that there is some language in provincial legislation that says no responses are counted as affirmatives, and I'm not really comfortable with that either. Recognizing that it's provincial, I'm not sure if we can go beyond the provincial standards and require a minimum threshold or anything like that for responses. I don't think one cycle is enough time, quite honestly. I'm even concerned, and I say this with with all due respect to Mr. Delaney and Ms. Spakowski, but even in the communication there, in referring to the desire to become the Uptown London Business Improvement Association, you know, the Hyde Park Business Association was centered around that Gainsborough, Hyde Park Road sort of village feel and the small businesses there, and that was its impetus for creation. And I'm not sure that there has been enough discussion with current membership around potential rebranding, but I'm also really not comfortable with the low volume of response we've had, and that we're just going to count non-responses as affirmatives. And I recognize staff have to follow what's laid out under provincial legislation, but I'm not sure that we can't potentially set our standards higher. So I'm not comfortable with a one-cycle referral. I would be much more comfortable if we were just moving a referral to direct further engagement with the potential new businesses in the recommended area, because I note that the request from the Hyde Park BIA was a massive area, and the return back from staff is not that area. It is a more limited area. So I'd like to see some more engagement specifically with the businesses in that more limited scoped area, particularly along Hyde Park and along Gainsborough. But you know, the communication from the Sherwood Forest Mall raises some red flags for me too. I'm not sure that it's been clear to all businesses in their responses that there is an additional cost on their tax bill if they're in the affirmative for this. I know it's got one communication. The Sherwood Forest Mall is a pretty substantial property within this proposed expansion. So I have a number of concerns and questions. I can't support the referral as is. I think it's too limited and far too tight a timescale. I think that there needs to be more discussion and involvement, and I've sort of shared my thoughts around scope of what that direction might be, but I also think that there needs to be some directions in a referral for it to be in order. And I'm not sure that with the general direction of some more engagement that we're actually getting to the root concern here, which is the low volume of responses, whether or not this area is actually the area that we should be looking at, and whether or not, given the communication we've had from the Sherwood Forest Mall, if even the affirmative responses are fully understanding that there is a levy impact on their property taxes that comes with this. So I know the mover and seconder put a very specific one cycle. I'm not going to support that, but I also don't have wordsmithing yet for a more substantive referral. I need to give that a little thought, hear what some others have to say. But I don't think that a one-cycle referral is something I can support. There's more to explore here than what we've got before us.
So the clerk advised me that a possibility would be future PEC as opposed to next cycle. And I'll go to the mover, which is, or we could make an amendment. You're okay with doing a future PEC? Okay, seconder is okay with that. Is that okay, clerk, to do that? So we've now changed it to a future PEC as opposed to the next cycle. Do you have comments on that, Deputy Mayor?
So I would be more comfortable with that, but I still think that we need a little bit more direction in terms of what we're looking for here. I mean, I've shared some thoughts, but I guess through you, I'd like to ask our staff, first, I recognize that there's a provincial legislative component. Is there anything that bars us from meeting that legislative requirement, but also setting the bar a little bit higher ourselves and saying we want to aim for a number of 50% plus one responses?
I'll go staff.
Through the chair, there is very specific requirements in the Act. However, if you're looking to collect more information and have us present that as part of any report coming forward, we could lay that out for council and council decide how they want to proceed. So in reality, for it to proceed, you'd have to very much follow what's in the municipal act, but if council will have an opportunity to make a decision. If you want us to collect the data and be able to show more than just you want to show the affirmative responses as well, we can provide that to you in that committee report that comes forward. Then you use that as a basis of whether you'd want to move forward.
Deputy Mayor.
Okay, that is helpful. So I think then I want to amend the referral to provide some direction. I know I have to do that while I'm speaking now, and I would have liked to have heard from the area councilors first, so I'm not sure if the chair might be willing to let me come back with an amendment after the ward councilors have had a chance to weigh in.
Sure.
I know procedurally we're bending the rules a little bit, but.
It's committee.
Okay, so I'd like to come back to amend some specific scope here, but I'd like to hear from the area representatives before I do that.
Okay, so this does affect Councillor Rahman in the north end. It affects me, for sure, along Hyde Park. So I'll let Councillor Rahman go ahead first, and then I'll hand the chair off, and I'll go.
Thank you, and through you, just to clarify, do I have to speak only on the referral?
Well, the referral's on the floor, but it's for pretty broad discussion. So, I'll give a lot of leeway there.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that leeway. So first I want to start by saying thanks to the Hyde Park BIA for the engagement that they've done on this matter. I want to first let members of PEC know that this has been quite an undertaking for the BIA. So they started this process last summer. They went out to the community first and had conversations with the community members around this expansion. They did that on their own with summer students, as well as at opportunities for engagement with residents and at events. So there was a lot of engagement there. This was an ongoing discussion probably for the last year, actually more than a year, but with the focused area plan, about a year. And then there's been really great engagement with staff and Mr. McCauley and his team around, team of one maybe even, around a lot of this as well. Great insight from his team. The additional step that the BIA and Mr. McCauley put in place around involving community connectors to go out, so not once, but twice, to the businesses and have these conversations. They did have a brochure. They did have information with them. It included the the special levy assessment in the documentation that was provided to each business. So I think they tried their best to make sure that those groups were aware. On top of that, I did my own engagement as well. When the boundary came back as changed to a smaller, more concentrated area, whenever I was meeting with a business or a developer, I was having similar conversations around, hey, this is coming and this is what's planned. But no matter how much we try to engage, sometimes maybe not everyone has all the information until a decision point is coming. So in the case of Sherwood Forest Mall, I think that we've received the communication that's in front of us. I think there's a way to address that, and that would be to remove Key 3 from this proposal, and that's something I know the BIA is also considerate of, the fact that their letter has come in. One thing to consider is they are one vote when it comes to the mall, but they are the owners, so it's a different vote. But really, all of the tenants would also get a vote on whether or not they want to be a BIA. That levy increase is actually passed on from the owners to the businesses. So however we want to look at that or handle that, we should consider that. It's very similar for other BIAs. Maybe the owner doesn't agree, but maybe tenants might agree. And I did take a look at and had a chance to review the responses just to see kind of who was responding in which direction, from landowners to tenants. I agree that the response rate could be better. I agree that it would be great to see more engagement. But as we all know, and especially those of us that sit around BIA tables, most often people don't tell you something unless they're really upset or they're really against it. So I think that is something to consider with these types of approaches as we move forward. I'm sure other BIAs will want to do the same. I agree with the collecting more data when we do the vote. So however we go about that, I like the idea of collecting, the supporters of, but I do think 50% would be too high of a threshold. I think the Municipal Act maybe doesn't have the numbers completely right as well, and only counting those against, I think, is a challenge. But perhaps if we ask for another level of detail where we can see within the new area who was supportive, I think that might help us to finalize our decision. So those are just my initial thoughts. If Key 3 was removed, that would basically take the Gainsborough portion out of consideration. So I'll turn it to the ward councillor for Ward 8, which would have the majority of the increase, or the new area.
Okay, and I'll ask Councillor Pelosi to take the chair.
Thank you. I have the chair recognizing Councillor Lehman.
Thank you. Yeah, so I echo those concerns. As a member of BIA, I see great value in being part of a BIA. It makes sense to me to go down Hyde Park, but I'm not the one impacted by it. Like what I don't want to see is someone looking at their tax bill or the the communication they get from their landlord when they recover common area costs and property costs, et cetera, and go, where did this come from? I never agreed to this. That's my concern. I think there has to be a bit more of an in-depth job in selling the benefits of the BIA. Like I said, I think the value is there for sure. Pretty clear from Short Forest Mall that they're not interested. Their tenants might be, or maybe not. I don't know. I can't speak for them. It makes sense to me, though, not to, just like I didn't like to see it to go to Wonderland Fanshawe, just stick with Hyde Park and come down the park to Oxford Street, down to Ward 8, which it's a wonderful spot to shop. But I would like to see, as the councillor said, I'd like to see more responses, like whether it means getting on the phone with some folks, and let's do it. And then I can see, okay, we spoke to, 150 people. We couldn't get a hold of, 50 people, and of the 100 people, 70 said yes, or 70 said no, I don't know. It would just help me, because at the end of the day, I vote, and we vote as whether to approve this or not, and then goes on to council. It would help me, because we don't have to have a specific 50+1, but the bigger majority of those who've actually made contact and affirmative, it helps me make that call. I don't think the hard work done by the BIA is for naught. They've made terrific effort in this. They've made a lot of contacts. Let's just go one step further, because we're talking about taxes here, property taxes, and the business has no choice. Once you're in the BIA, you're in it, and you have to pay it whether you like it or not. So I want to be very cautious before we go down that road. So I don't know if at this point, and I'd like to hear from other members of the committee, if at this point, do we take out Sherwood Forest Mall, or do we leave that in for further consultation to see if they want to speak to their tenants? I'd be fine, based on what I've heard, removing that as another part of the amendment. But anyway, I'd like to hear from my fellow committee members.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You've used 2 minutes and 52 seconds, and I know I'm on your speakers list, not sure who else is.
Thank you for keeping such great track of my time, Councillor. I'll go to you.
Thank you. Maybe it's just practice for tomorrow's budget meeting. Question through you to staff. Appreciate the process, the work put in. And I know sometimes we put work in and we don't always see the return and the response and engagement with residents as we had hoped. I know with other planning applications, we are on a strict provincially designated timeline to make a decision and get things back. Are we in such a position on expansions of BIAs? I see a no, but just confirming.
I'll go to staff.
Thank you. Through the chair, no, there is no statutory timeline requirement with this process.
Thank you. Follow-up question through you, Mr. Chair. we were looking at the response rate. Just wondering if those responses were strictly through a mailed-in survey they had to do, if there was an email reply available. I know some departments are shifting, especially with the Canada Post issues that we live in, or if we've advanced anything to do a QR code. Just looking for ease of how some people might want to engage with us.
I'll go to staff.
Thank you. Through the chair, they were all email responses through the QR code.
Looking to see if they
Counselor.
would like to add anything on. I just see some discrepancy in.
Go to staff.
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
Counselor.
Chair?
Sorry, I was just questioning if that was completely accurate. As you're speaking, your colleague next to you is shaking their head no, so would just really like to know which the answer was.
Go to staff.
So through the chair, the initial consultation process was a combination of a physical mail sent to all property owners and business tenants, followed up by the community connectors visiting approximately 66% of those businesses that should have received the envelope from the city. And people were provided options of responding. Some chose to respond through a QR code that was included in a survey, and some chose to complete the survey, manually, physically, and scan and email it back to us. So we got the responses through a variety of ways.
Counselor.
Thank you, and thank you for that clarification that this department, as well as some others, are using all means to try and gather feedback, which I appreciate, using the technology available to us. Some concerns, and I thank colleagues for their discussion on this. I don't know if it would help that when it came back to us, if we knew, as you already have a scheduled index map that's numerically ordered, if we knew which ones in those areas responded in a certain way, that we might be like, oh, this one met a certain threshold, we saw where the votes came from, and are more comfortable putting it in. I'm still concerned, though, with a 9% response rate. It's a single-digit response rate, and of those, yeses were 36% and nos were 51.9 roughly. That's my concern, that we only have 9% replying, and of those replying, we'll just call it 52% said no, thank you. So just as well with anything for taxes, everyone, if they didn't realize that this would have a financial implication to their decision-making model of yes or no, that we know that we'll hear back when it's time of, you just raised my taxes as much, I'm already struggling as a business, and now what can you give my BIA to alleviate these pressures to help make some on the verge of financial closure? So those are my concerns of just, I don't question the way forward of if it's looking at in sections, send the BIA back to doing some more detailed engagement to see what their instructions would be, or just simply saying no at this time. Because for me, a 9% response rate and 52% of those people saying no is a concern.
I'll go to Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Chair. So I'm going to get a really pointed question building off of what Councillor Pelosi just asked. So Mr. Mathers, did I understand correctly when you responded earlier that you could report back with more data, and to Councillor Pelosi's point, when you do that, if we were to direct you to do that, you could actually break it down into key 1, key 2, key 3, and show us where the positives and the negatives were in each of those keys?
I'll go to staff.
Through the chair, absolutely. I think that would be very important information for committee to be able to see, because of course, these are even including like the existing areas within the BIA. So I think it would be very prudent to be able to show that information broken up by the geographic area.
Deputy Mayor.
Okay, so that's very helpful. So I would kind of lean towards leaving key 3 in for now, having that additional round of engagement and information that can be fed back to us, and then making a decision whether to leave it in or take it out. I will say, and I'm just going to take this opportunity to follow up on a comment I made earlier, that I don't think, and staff, I will ask you to correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think we're discussing the potential rebranding today, but I do want to share to the BIA that I actually disagree with the labeling of Uptown as a sort of a unilateral renaming yourselves. Well, certainly when I think of the Hyde Park BIA, I think of it as the Hyde Park area. I think of that Hyde Park and Gainsborough corridor and the Fanshawe Park and Hyde Park corridor. If I was going to label any district of London as uptown, I quite honestly would consider that to be Masonville, running up from the Richmond Row corridor. So I think that a rebranding like that does take away the uniqueness of the neighborhood character. And I think that that should be a further discussion with agencies like Tourism London, the other BIAs, and get more feedback than just the board members on that sort of rebranding exercise. That said, I appreciate the work and the quality of work, and I sit on a BIA too, the quality of work that the Hyde Park BIA does for its businesses in the area. And I didn't say that earlier, but I want to say it now because they put on some great events, Pond Fest, the Santa Claus Parade, among others. I think that the beautification efforts are excellent. There really is a quality job, and businesses in the BIA do get value back for their dollar. And I think it's really important to share and underscore that I firmly believe the work you do is excellent, and the businesses in your current catchment area do get value for the dollar. But I do share the concern about the 9% engagement. So I do want to take the opportunity now to amend the referral, and that this item be referred back to a future meeting of Planning and Environment Committee, that Civic Administration be directed to work with the Hyde Park BIA to undertake an additional round of engagements, specifically with the businesses located within the staff recommended expansion area, and report back with those findings. And I can email that over to the clerk if it helps, because I've been kind of playing in Microsoft Word as we listen to get some language, so I'll send that over.
Okay, can you just give us a second here while the clerk wordsmiths that up? Councilor Plaza.
I'm just getting on your speakers list, Mr. Chair.
Added.
So Lewis's
So-
amendment is in e-scribe, so we just
Okay.
need a seconder.
All right, so the amendment is in e-scribe, and I just need a seconder on that. Counselor Cuddy is seconded. Deputy Mayor, can you just have a quick read to make sure that that's what you intended? And then I'll be going to Counselor Rahman.
Yes, that captures my intent. We're looking at vote 3, that this item be referred back to and Civic Administration be directed to work with the Hyde Park BIA to undertake an additional round of engagement, specifically with the businesses located within the staff recommended expansion area, and report back to a future meeting of PEC.
Okay, I'll go Counselor Rahman.
Thank you, and through you. So I'm just wondering, I don't know if it can be amended further, but just throwing this out there for consideration. I know I can't amend it myself. So the question I would have is, what do you want the BIA to go back to the businesses with? So if we're asking them to go back to the businesses with, hey, a vote is going to happen, and the way it's written right now is the next step is the only consideration, then you may not get the folks that are going to say yes, because right now they don't have to, right? So whatever the parameters of the vote is going to be should be what they're out communicating so that everybody understands the intention of what data is to come back. Right now, the way this reads is that at least 1/3 of owners' tenants object in writing, and B, that those objectors collectively pay 1/3 of property taxes in either the existing or the proposed new area. So if, for instance, you require additional data points that we need to, or the BIA needs to communicate out to the public to say, if you want to say yes, this is how you do it, I think that has to be part of the engagement, or it would be difficult for the BIA to ensure that they're communicating the vote and the process effectively if there's a change in the process later. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's something I think we have to consider if the vote process is being considered differently at council in the future.
Okay. Just trying to think of how to proceed. I know Counselor Pelosi, you're next on my list, but do we want to? I'm going to go to staff to see if they have any suggestions that might help us out.
Through the chair, so what I'm hearing today is that you're really looking to be able to understand like the people that are very supportive of this, and then if people have those formal objections, that they're also heard. The survey that was provided, in which we only got 52 responses, is an attempt to try to collect that information. So I think if we reframe it for folks that we really do need to hear back from you either way. Like, we need to know whether you're in support, you're a no or a maybe, just like what was in the survey. And we tried to enhance and get this a larger number than 52 responses. I think that would provide you with part of the information. And then if we are able to show it to you geographically to say this is where we have those responses, then you'll be able to assess that in a next round of decision making. So if you put it back to us and the BIA to collect more of that survey information, I think you'll have all the pieces that you need to make the decision.
Counselor, what do you think of that comment?
Thank you. Through you, I do appreciate staff's perspective on this. I agree that the survey asks for that requirement of the yes, no, or the maybe. It's going to be difficult to get anything else, I think, for the BIA and the staff outside of perhaps similar results to what we've gotten, right? So I am trying to find a way forward that gives us that opportunity, but if that's the direction that is there, ultimately, I think people are going to respond best when they're asked to make that written formal vote, right? Like, that's, I think, where we're actually going to see a result come in. So this is, again, just a temperature check. And then we'll have to decide what we do from there. So happy to further this discussion at a future PEC meeting.
Okay. Counselor Pelosi.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A couple questions for you to staff. I know as we sit as this committee, is there anything legislatively saying that we would have to expand to BIA?
Go staff.
Just making sure that it's a no before I make further comments.
Thank you. Through the chair, as council, you have the authority to designate a business improvement area. You have received a request that has been approved from the Board of Management of a business improvement area. There is no requirement for you to expand that area. It is entirely up to your discretion as a council.
Councillor.
Thank you. Through you to staff, as we follow this conversation, I would say that Mr. Mathers did encapsulate, I think, what most of us are trying to get at as information and intent of owners and the BIAs alike. Looking through you to see if they have the staff complement, as our staff's busy doing many things, currently available and free to do this engagement, and roughly how many hours are they expecting this is going to take of our staff time to go out and redo this work?
I'll go staff.
Thank you. Through the chair, I will admit it would be difficult to quantify some of the staff time we've allotted to this. We do have within our work plan time set aside to support all the different business improvement areas. With what is being asked of administration with the motion on the floor, I do believe that we can accommodate that within our existing work plan that we have scheduled over the next couple of months in order to get the information that council needs to make a proper decision.
Councillor.
Thank you. I'm up for considering the referral on the floor. I still have concern with the 9% response rate, realizing the expansive time and effort it seems on all parties involved that actually went into this. And a concern that in the added agenda was a letter from the Hyde Park BIA saying that they're fine with the response rate because they're asking us to move forward and do all the expansions today. My opinion is different. I am not fine approving their expansion today. I have many more questions. Up to committee, I'm fine voting for the referral. I'm also fine just voting no.
I'll go Deputy Mayor Lewis.
Thank you. I don't know how much of my time I've used up if I need to ask for more, but I want to just ask a couple pointed questions of staff. If you go back out to do this, would you be sharing with the businesses that you're engaging with the proposed expansion map? Because I suspect it would be different than the earlier round of engagement, which was a much broader area. And would you also be, would the communication also be sharing the levy rate as well? Would you be able to tell them in this communication, this, to respond to Councillor Rahman's concern a bit, this is coming back to council for a vote in August or September, like whatever the timeline is you need. Council needs your response by X date so that they can consider it at a planning meeting in September, something like that, so they realize that council is going to be voting on this year, and we do need to hear from them by some sort of drop-dead deadline. So I guess those are the three things. Could you provide them a deadline? Could you provide them the new map? And would they be provided with the levy rate that the BIA has on its membership?
I'll go staff.
Thank you. Through the chair. So when we undertook the initial round of engagement, the scope was much broad. As we've revised that boundary, yes, we would go out with the motion on the floor. We would go out and engage the businesses with the revised proposed smaller area, and we would provide that information to the individuals we are engaging with for their opinion. We can set a deadline, like we can definitely forecast when we want to bring this back to council. And definitely when it comes to levy information, we can provide an approximate amount until the 2026 property tax rate set and until the 2026 BIA budget levy is set. It's difficult, but we can use some data that the BIA has previously to provide an estimate. I will let committee know that to comply with the Municipal Act, so we would be conducting this second round of engagement, returning back to you with the results of that engagement for your decision point to then determine whether or not to proceed with the Municipal Act process, which would be a third round of engagement. So just letting everyone know that that would be a 60-day process that would occur after we come back to committee.
Deputy Mayor.
And that's where the businesses actually vote, right, in that third round? after council has decided, we're going to approve an expansion contingent on the outcome of a vote.
Thank you, through the chair. Just to clarify, they respond to the notice that we mail out of this, indicating their objection to the proposed expansion bylaw.
Okay, thanks. So just hearing that information, I hope that that addresses some of the concerns Councillor Rahman had. Also happy to work with either the ward councillors or have them bring forward an amendment to this referral at council too. But I think that hearing what staff can do to bring back a little bit more data for us before we make a decision, I'm comfortable with that at this point in time, because I do think that there's some merit in expanding the Hyde Park BIA, particularly down that Hyde Park Road corridor to Oxford. I think there's a lot of businesses in there that identify with the Hyde Park identity and would benefit from being in there. So I have the concerns about the low response rate, but I'm not prepared to say no. I'd like to get a little more information, and I do think that there's an opportunity for an expansion here. But I just want to make sure we get it right when we do it.
Thank you. Other comments or questions? Councillor Primble, sorry, you had indicated.
Thank you, and I do have a few questions to the staff, and based on if this referral passes or not, they will still be valid. And I just want to ask you, it states, according to the policy, that we have at least 1/3 of owners, tenants object in writing. Is it 1/3 of all proposed in current area, which should be about 250, or is it only the ones 1/3 of the responses we receive?
Go to staff.
Thank you, through the chair. It is all current and proposed members within the expansion area is what the 1/3 calculates to.
Councillor.
So again, not based on responses, based on the total number of current and potential members, correct?
That is correct.
Thank you for that. I assume if the owner and tenant, if they object and it's the same address, will it count as one or as two objections?
Go to staff.
Thank you, through the chair. They actually are counted as separate votes. So if you have a single property owner who owns a building with 10 units and there are 10 tenants within that, there are 11 eligible voters within that single property.
Councillor.
Thank you for that. If the 60-day objection period currently, which is in the policy, can we actually extend it potentially, or it has to be 60?
Go to staff.
Thank you, through the chair. It is 60 days under the Municipal Act, so that would be the legislation that we are compliant with.
Councillor.
Okay, thank you for that. By the way, I don't think that the BIN, maybe I misread it, but I don't think that they are asking for the expansion today. I think there was that 60-day objection period still in place. And clarify one thing is, I was under the impression that there were about 50 responses with potentially 250 new members. That certainly is more than 9%. So I just want a clarification on that.
We'll go to staff.
Thank you, through the chair. The recommendation, the original recommendation in front of you was to direct staff to send out that formal notice, which was the trigger to provide businesses with the opportunity to inform us and formally object to the expansion process. By referring this, that process will not take place, that notice will not be sent, and instead we would be going out for another round of engagement.
Councillor.
Okay, thank you for that, but can you clarify the information I received, roughly 50 out of 250, which 50 out of 250 is more than 9%?
Go to staff.
Through the chair, the 9 or 10% was a response rate for the original wide expansion area, so not for the recommended expansion area that is before you today. So the 52 responses is associated with the initial consultation for the wider expansion area.
Councillor.
Okay, thank you for that. No more questions, just 2 comments. It was already stated here, but I certainly would not support renaming, rebranding to Uptown. And I just want to say one more thing, that we have currently 2 BIAs, similar centers to Sherwood that they actually do participate and they do pay the levy. So at this stage, I would not support excluding Sherwood Forest Mall from this. And I would certainly encourage conversation with them and their tenants. Thank you.
Other comments or questions? Committee would permit me, I'll just say this. At the end of the day, you present us with the data that you collect, and there's no 50+1, there's no parameters set by the Municipal Act. It's essentially our judgment call, from my understanding. Is that correct, staff?
Through the chair, yes, at the end of the day, you would not be able to move forward if you had that more than that objection amount value. However, it's your choice whether to move forward either way.
Please go ahead.
Through the chair, if I could just clarify, I think there might be some confusion. I think you're talking about sort of an informal survey process, which is separate from the formal notification process. So there's a notice process, which is under the Act, and you have to comply with that notice process. And it's the notice process that then determines the number of objections, whether you can proceed with a bylaw or not. So that notification process is very important.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. I appreciate that. And that's why it's important at this point that we have a fairly high degree of confidence going forward that we're going to get through that official count. That's the way I see it. And I think we've heard from various people here, and I share that. I don't have that confidence, not because of the response, but because just a low response rate. We just don't have enough people telling us what they want. I think it's helpful now we can have more direct thing. I ask that the levy implications be as clear as possible. I understand, what I get a little troubled with is it's, well, it's a percent of this and that and that. There's some way you can say that your property taxes are going to go up by 0.001% or some way to tie it to their current property taxes. It might be surprising on the low end as opposed to people think, oh, my taxes are going up by a huge amount, and it might not be the case. So as much as possible, in clear speak as you can, I think that'll help. And at the front, at the top, not buried down the bottom, but very clear. Here's what we're asking. Here's the cost. Here are the benefits. And we need to hear from you by this and such a date, because the council is going to vote on this. So I think that would add impetus to people responding. And when it comes back, I hope we have some better data that we can hopefully go forward. Because like has been said here, I hope it does. I'd like to see the BIA stretch down Hyde Park for sure. Okay, I'll look for any other comments or questions before I call the vote on the referral. We're going to do the referral first, and then we're going to call it on the main vote. So we've got the referral now. That's before you. That was moved by Deputy Mayor Lewis and Councillor Cuddy, and I'll call that vote right now. Councillor Rahman.
Sorry, we're just still on the amendment to the referral.
I'm sorry. Thank you for clarifying. The amendment to the referral. So we're talking about the amendment. Correct. Thank you. Everyone else knew what I was talking about because they're used to me the way I speak. Yeah, please go ahead with your question.
Okay, thank you. And through you, I just want to thank the Deputy Mayor as well for pointing out that we have time between now and council if there's any further amendments on the referral to be put forward, which I am considering bringing, just for clarification of what the BIA and staff should be doing in order to collect the information that's needed. I will say, I think we have an opportunity right now that we have to seize, and that is to get our process correct, because this won't be the first BIA to come to us with an expansion. So if we're not okay with the expansion process under the Municipal Act, having nothing to do with Hyde Park BIA, they just happen to be the ones that are in front of us today with this. We really need to take the time to clarify our own process and what we're comfortable with and make it uniform for all of the BIAs. So I appreciate the referral. I'm not sure if I'll amend in the future so that we get that process right before we take it one step further. I do think if we If we don't do that and we send the BIA and staff out to go out and do the survey again, we'll end up with similar results, and it won't give us or satisfy the need for us to really clearly understand what it is we want to know in order to support a BIA expansion. We have to think about this in terms of economic benefit as well for our city. We have to think about, how we seize the opportunity to make our centers around the city more vibrant. This is an opportunity to do so. The work of the BIA speaks for itself. It's phenomenal. If you have a chance, come out to PondFest this weekend. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll look for any other comments or questions before I call the vote on the amendment. Seeing none, I'll call the amendment vote.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
Okay, now we're on the main motion as amended. Okay, I'll need a mover and a seconder for the motion as amended. Councillor Cuddy, seconded by Councillor Hillier. Any comments or questions? Again, through the committee permits, I'd just like to follow up on Councillor Rahman's point. Hyde Park is kind of the guinea pig here. And maybe it might be helpful, once we've gone through this exercise, to actually look at maybe having a process in place so we don't have to repeat this if it comes before us again. But let's work our way through this, and then we can talk about that. Deputy Mayor Lewis.
Just want to make sure, because you're saying the main motion as amended, but you're actually talking about the referral as amended, because the referral takes precedence.
Correct.
There is no main motion if the referral passes.
Everyone knew what I was talking about, right? Yeah. The referral as amended. Policy wonks. Okay. Any other comments or questions on the chair's ability to handle a meeting? Seeing none, I'll call that vote.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
Yeah, I'll just say this from the chair. Thank you for coming down today. I know this is a long, drawn-out process. It's an important process, and you can hear the discussion here. Unfortunately, you're the first kind of to go through this, so be patient. And I think you hear our comments here, what we're looking for to help staff out and working together with them to get what I think you want, and I think what a lot of people have, you heard support for where you're going as well. So thanks for making the effort and for being here today. Appreciate that. Okay, moving on to 2.2, and this is a request for a delegation status from the board chair from downtown London. So I'll look for a motion. Councillor Pelosa, seconded by Councillor Hillier, to allow that delegation, and we'll call the vote.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
Welcome, Ms. Nielsen. Please go ahead. You have 5 minutes.
Excellent, thank you. Kristen Nielsen, Chair of the Board of Directors of the Downtown London BIA. First off, thank you for allowing me the time to address the esteemed chair and the committee. The title of the report that is presented is the Momentum Report, and this group of talented and dedicated individuals put this together, and I'm just here to bring their words to life with my enthusiasm. So we've asked for the opportunity for the Downtown London to speak and to bring forward its appreciation for and to define the investments that the city, its partners, and the private sectors have made to the momentum of downtown and the future we can expect. Sorry, I can't see this, but now I can't see you. So we're going with it. The programs sorry, I'm just going to jump into the investments and start with the city's programs through the London Community Recovery Network through 2020 to 2023, where the city partnered with the LDBA to deliver more than 500,000 in direct support to businesses, including recovery COVID recovery grants, facade and patio improvements, construction dollars, holiday window displays, and $276,000 in activation funding to support initiatives such as the Downtown for the Holidays event. In 2024, the city committed $1.16 million in grant funding to the Downtown London BIA to address challenges stemming from homelessness and social disruption. This funding directly enabled the expansion of the clean team, graffiti removal, business support, and downtown activations, including $623,000 in grants that were distributed to 261 member businesses. The LDBA has delivered more than $1.3 million in direct-to-business grants through Main Street London, supporting safety improvements, storefront upgrades, signage, and beautifications initiatives. Other initiatives have included the Office to Residential Construction Grant and the Commercial Space Fit-Out Program, the Downtown London Loop, a key component to the city's bus rapid transit system, is now substantially complete, improving transit access to and through the core. $24 million of a provincial investment in wastewater infrastructure has unlocked the capacity for more than 17,000 new residential units citywide. Private sector investment is also gaining visible momentum. Between 2020 and 2024, downtown saw more than $646 million in verified construction activity, including the addition of 1,456 new residential units that have been approved, underway, or completed. And as we've discussed today, with proposed projects, more than $900 million in private sector dollars, increasing this number to 4,000 units. This reinvestment spans a diversity of projects, including residential developments, commercial renovations, tenant fit-outs, signage improvements, and essential upgrades to aging infrastructure. The total investment picture reflects a downtown that is not only attracting interest, but actively being reimagined and rebuilt. While this brings construction, and that has its own temporary challenges, including noise, detours, disruptions to business and operations, these are the parts of the pains of progress. Long-term benefits are clear and fueling the momentum for the future. The Downtown London BIA will continue to support our businesses through this disruption. I'd like to touch on vibrancy and culture. Strategic partnerships are the fuel to the fire of this momentum. It is through the efforts of the LDBA along with the City of London, Tourism London, Dundas Place, Covent Garden Market, the Chamber of Commerce, cultural organizations, and community groups that the downtown has seen revitalization. From major festivals to neighborhood skill programs, the LDBA has helped bring thousands of people downtown by supporting, sponsoring, and hosting and promoting a wide range of events. In 2024 alone, more than 1.18 million people attended events in the core, with more than 4,700 events being hosted since 2020. These events, each gathering, each celebration, and every visit to the core supports our retail and hospitality businesses. Beyond this, it contributes to the extended work environment for our office tenants. And if we think creatively and collaborate with other great London organizations such as the LEDC, we can capitalize on the story of success and use it to market to other areas to drive up tenancy in our office market. Inclusion is an important factor to consider. In my conversations with councillors, the discussion wrapped around the topic of how to make downtown open to every Londoner. There's opportunity here to foster new relationships and create spaces for everyone. This includes ensuring that our business ecosystem continues to encourage and optimize the diversity. Cultural momentum in downtown isn't just about aesthetics, but it's about impact. According to the role of culture in downtown London's evolution, a report by the Chamber of Commerce, arts and culture play a measurable role in economic growth, quality of life, and perceptions of safety and vibrancy. Public art and music draw foot traffic, support local businesses, and strengthen community pride. Private and public spaces can be leveraged not only for events, but also for placemaking and storytelling to shift perception and invite new audiences. To touch on a few successes, we have Sunfest, Rock the Park, to award-winning downtown trails, graduations, Dundas Place markets, cultural events at Victoria Park. Through the LDBA and all of our efforts in facilitating and supporting these events, we ensure a positive impact on our businesses. Together, the efforts of downtown, we are taking raises our downtown London from just being maintained to being animated. So on the topic of security and vacancy, this is one of the most visible and persistent challenges downtown has, both at street level and above. Initiatives such as the Office to Residential Conversion, Vacant Space Outfit Plan are meaningful, but we need to capitalize on the opportunities to work with other organizations and drive employers to our core. Our cityscape now boasts beautiful new residential construction, vibrancy in culture and activities, and improved public transport. These are the factors businesses consider to attracting talent. This is what we can use to drive interest in our office market. But it will be the efforts of the LDBA, along with the city and others, that help tell the story of success. As for safety and security, it has been a deterrent to both businesses and foot traffic, and it is a problem we are facing together. The initiative of the London Police Services, with the support of the city in controlling open drug use, has had a positive impact. We don't have metrics, but anecdotally in my conversations, we have heard of vast improvements to reportable security events, increased sense of safety, and an overall improvement to the real and perceived security of the downtown London population. For this, we are grateful. So to the future, with gratitude. The LDBA gratefully acknowledges the City of London's targeted support through its $1.16 million grant in 2024, as well as the committed funding of $300,000 for both 2025 and 2026, respectively. We extend this appreciation to all partners, community groups, the LBS, who have contributed to the momentum we have built. To accelerate us to the future, we must build up these successful collaborations and drive feet to our streets, turn the wave of pessimism towards the beautiful present and a bright future. We cannot coast. It takes all of us to tell the story. We've cared enough to make the investments and seen the results. These results are not theoretical progress, but are happening now. Through the launch of targeted quick start actions, the ongoing contribution to the downtown master plan, the increased police presence, enhanced outreach, public washroom beautification, and vacancy reduction initiatives, the city has demonstrated a willingness to act quickly and collaboratively. Continued investment in the downtown is not just about preserving what we have, it's about maximizing what's possible. But this transformation isn't driven by dollars alone, it's powered by people. By Londoners who attend events, support local businesses, bring energy to public spaces, and choose downtown as a place to be. These investments, both institutional and individual, support jobs, grow the tax base, draw tourism, strengthen downtown as a place to live, and elevate London's civic brand. With momentum building, a strong foundation in place, and continued support from the city, higher levels of government, our partners and the public, downtown London is poised for lasting transformation.
30 seconds.
Special thanks to the City of London, Tourism London, Covent Garden Market, Dundas Place, the Chamber of Commerce, downtown event organizers, private developers, and the broader community for helping to make our downtown better every day and accelerating us all to a downtown that is pride of place. Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Nielsen. Okay, so I'll go to committee. Looking for a motion to receive that report. Councillor Cuddy, seconded by Deputy Mayor Lewis. Any questions, comments from committee members? Deputy Mayor Lewis.
Well, I'm wondering if we can get Ms. Nielsen to come to council and read out our reports from closed session, because those are rather long, and she's very good at getting a lot of information in very quickly. But I want to take the opportunity to say thank you to Downtown London and to your whole team who are up there. You know, and of course that goes beyond just the team that's here today, but I'm thinking about the folks at Covent Garden Market and at Canada Life Place and at the Central Library and all of the Grand Theatre and all the other great destinations we have downtown, because I'm hearing it from my residents out in the East End too. And I'm hearing it from people that I pass on the street or interact with at events. Hey, downtown's starting to get better. Hey, things are looking up. Like, we see the cranes in the sky. I was down to a Knights game and I came out and there was a street festival going on a Friday night, and I've never seen that before. That kind of feedback, when I'm hearing it, you know, sitting on a patio at Chuck's out in Argyle Mall, that people are saying, oh, I was downtown and something great was going on. I want to share that with you, because when I'm hearing that, it tells me that the work you're doing is making an impact, and the work that all the partners are doing. That includes our planning staff here, the members of this committee and council who are approving those new housing builds. I know for a while the narrative has been, you know, oh, I would never go downtown. Oh, things are terrible downtown. But that's not the narrative that's out there anymore. And there's lots of good stories to still tell. You know, I missed the opportunity, but I know that everybody did a great job putting on Knights Court again this year for the Memorial Cup. Thanks to Mr. Craven and to Mr. McCauley for their work on that. Still have a banner in my office commemorating the first one, and that'll always be a prized souvenir, because those are the kind of things that we want to see happen, those street gatherings, that excitement, that energy that really adds to the vibrancy of the community. So for a long time, I will be honest, it felt like whether it was the business owners, the BIA, the other community partners, it seemed like everything was negative, negative, negative. And to hear the positives from you and to hear the positives from the residents that I talk to as I go about my daily excursions in the city, it's encouraging. We've got a lot of work to do still, we know that, but the team that you've put together, the impact that's already happening, it gives us a lot of hope for where we can take our downtown moving forward. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Councillor Cuddy.
Thank you, Chair, and through you, and thank you, Ms. Nielsen, for coming today. And, you know, you're a busy person, you're a businesswoman, and you're also the chair, but you're not accountable because you are chairs. You have a CEO who hasn't been available for a few months now. So what I'm interested, I think what this committee's interested in is your leadership, the leadership of the BIA for the going forward, and what we've seen for the past few months. So maybe you could just elaborate on that a bit.
Ms. Nielsen?
Yeah, I'm not sure that I understand the question.
I'll rephrase
Counselor?
it. I'll rephrase it. So you have a bit of a vacuum because you have no leadership at the time. So, I mean, you're a businesswoman. I own a business, so I understand how this operates. If I'm not there to tell people what to do, maybe it doesn't get done. And that's probably the same with you. So maybe you can, do you understand that?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Nielsen?
Thank you. So this team right here has been operating without an ED, who has been off for the interim. And all of this that has been put together is because of their dedication and their commitment and their talent. So if there has been a vacuum, and there has been, each one of these people and the board has stepped up. And that's why we're seeing these successes, and that's why we're feeling the improvements. So yes, we are anxious and excited to experience what's next for the team. But in the interim, like, these guys are just showing up and doing what needs to be done. And I have a part-time job now, so, which is supporting them and standing up here and cheerleading for them.
Councillor?
Thank you very much. So that really didn't answer my question, but I appreciate that. I appreciate the work you do and the work your staff does. Is your CEO expected back in the next few months, or what's the direction?
Ms. Nielsen?
Yeah, I can't comment directly to that. It wouldn't be prudent of me. She is off on leave, and we're keeping everybody updated as best we can.
Councillor?
Thank you. I just have one other question. You know, last year I went looking for your office because I wanted to buy some downtown bucks. And I'm a cyclist. I ride everywhere downtown. And it took me a while to find your office because it's now not on Main Street. It's on the second floor. When I look at a BIA, I expect it to be Main Street. And it's not anymore. It's on a second floor. I find that probably a step backwards, if you don't mind me saying so. I would like to see it on the main ground. I don't know why you relocated. Not my business, because this is the way you operate. But I think a Main Street office, a Main Street BIA should be on Main Street, not on a second floor. By the way, I couldn't access your office. I had to come back to my office and call and then access it again. I think you're doing a wonderful job, Ms. Nielsen. I think your staff are doing a wonderful job. I agree with wholeheartedly with Deputy Mayor Lewis's comments that you know, we've seen some huge improvements downtown. And I think we're moving in the right direction. Sorry, I'm almost done. I think we're moving in the right direction, and I applaud you for the work you do. Thank you.
Councillor Purble. I'm sorry, Councillor Ferrer, I had you next on the list.
Thank you, Chair. Okay, so there's always challenges for the downtown BIA, and I see that Councillor Cuddy has raised some, but in the end, we are having some serious progress moving forward. So there are always conversations that we can have to amend some of these concerns that are being brought up, and I would be more than willing to have a chat with you in the future regarding that. I wanted to speak to kind of the momentum, you know, like, I love the book, and the momentum report itself, like, the way I see it is, you know, there's a huge mass here, and this momentum of that mass is going to be hard to stop, and there's a whole bunch of people behind it pushing that along. And as the Deputy Mayor has said, and as Councillor Cuddy has also alluded to, this is all hands on deck. We're all working on this together, and I've seen some great support. Every time I reach out to either the chair or to staff, you've all been very receptive, very responsive, and I can really see that effort, that coordinated effort to work all together. We have our trails going on right now. We have the councillor, I guess, guided tours for the trails as well going on right now, just to kind of increase that engagement, to answer questions one-on-one. I really appreciate that we're doing that. And you can see from the momentum report itself, and the chair has spoke to most of them, so I'm not going to go over them again. But there's lots of points of engagement that we're bringing on with the local business community, with councillors, with residents, and I see some really positive things happening here. And I get a lot of feedback from residents downtown who live downtown. I'm the main point of contact, and I am getting a very concerted amount of communication coming in, telling me that they are seeing improvements, that they are seeing it's better this year than it was last year, that they are seeing it's better this year than it was 2 years ago. And I know that will increase. And that is, you know, efforts by this council as well, with all of the funding that we have helped the BIA with, and how they have activated that funding, and with the work that staff is doing themselves, and with the board of directors as well. So that concerted effort, that momentum, that's all of us pushing that. That's all of us bringing that forward, and I know it's going to get better. As it's already been better today than it was in the past. And I guess I may come back for more comments again on this, but I do want to say to the staff, I think you guys are doing a great job, a really great job. Like, I reach out to you and I ask for a guided tour with council members, and immediately I see an email coming to my colleagues saying, hey, come out, let's do these tours. You know, I call the chair of the board, you answer every one of my calls. We are working together on a lot of things. I think you're doing a fantastic job, like a very good job, to the chair of the board. She's new, and she's doing an amazing job. So you've hit the ground like sprinting. So I really appreciate that. We are in good hands here, and things are going to get better, and I am more than willing to have conversations with anybody here to answer as best as I can with the current information that we have now for any concerns that you may have. But I will say, we recognize the work that you're doing. I recognize the work that you're doing. I really appreciate what's happening, and the city is seeing it. And I know a year from now, you're going to see what the deputy mayor is speaking about more. So I'm happy with that, obviously, because, you know, as we all know, the downtown was in a state a few years back. It's not in that state today. That state is much better. And that momentum, this momentum report, is literally speaking to that. And it's still moving. We're still moving. And we are like a very heavy boulder that's going to be impossible to stop, because we have everybody behind it, including everybody here, staff and staff up there, and the board of directors pushing that along. So I appreciate everybody's help. I appreciate council supporting the budget amendment that I brought to the budget update for the extra funds for the downtown BIA. They're using it very well. And I'll leave my comments there for now, but I'm very happy with the state that we're in right now. I'm very happy with the direction that we're going, and I want to continue that. So good job.
I'm fine if you decide to speak of the chair of PAC the same way you speak the chair of the BIA. Anytime, Councillor.
The chair of PAC is amazing.
Councillor Pribble.
Thank you, through the chair. Thank you, Ms. Nelson, and thank you to the entire team for the hard work and for the excitement and positiveness about downtown. I will just add, I don't know if it was stated, but certainly the businesses downtown, they feel the same way. They feel that we are on the right track, both the council supportive actions that we are doing, as well as the BI's work, and but still, you know, long way to go, but certainly we are on the right track. If I look at 2 weeks ago, we had the London Knights great celebrations. Last week, We had the music festival, and every day, almost every day, people singing, dancing downtown, having a great time. Now we have thank you to Western and Fanshawe bringing their graduation downtown, and Canada Life Place, 130 events, half of the weekends, half of them weekdays. Tremendously important for us, so thank you for that. And I do have a few specific questions. We did have a strategic plan or downtown BIA 21 to 25, which has now ended. And what work is going to be done to evaluate kind of this plan, strategic plan? What has been accomplished? What we have learned? What can we do better?
Ms. Nielsen?
Yeah, excellent question. The metrics that have been driven by the strategic plan are posted quarterly, I believe, on our website. We feel that we have been successful in that strategic plan. We are looking at doing an interim strategic plan that will tide us over to or coincide with the implementation or the results from the master plan, the downtown master plan, which I believe is coming at the end of 2026. So there will be an interim strategic plan that'll get us from 2025 to 2026. We will build off the successes, but that period of time, 2021 to 2025, was recovery. That was COVID. That was how do we get people here? How do we approach businesses and recover? What I think we're looking at for the future is to build on that, take the momentum that we're feeling and say, how do we drive bigger successes? How do we drive pride of place to everybody in London for our downtown London? Now, am I allowed to refer to a comment that a previous councillor made?
I'll allow it, yeah, sure.
Thank you. Sorry, just in response to the comment about not being Main Street or not at retail level, and I respect that comment greatly. We do find ourselves at Dundas and Talbot, and there was a decision in order to incorporate our office tenants. We are an office tenant. We have office tenant who contribute to our people. So there is nothing that says, and I appreciate BIAs are typically focused on retail ground level, and we are very focused on that. But we cannot do that to the detriment or to ignoring our office tenants when we're facing a 30% vacancy rate. So we're looking at solutions for every member across our area. So thanks.
Okay.
Chair, may I respond to that comment?
No. We're not going to get into debate about this. No, we're still with Councillor Pribble. So Councillor, please go ahead.
Thank you. So the Strat plan ends this year, 25. What is the plan behind, beyond the 25? And in terms of the BIA and also I know you mentioned it as well, the downtown master plan that we are preparing, but I certainly hope it's going to be before end of 2026, and maybe I can have a confirmation from our staff on that one time frame. But anyways, I just want to know how it's going to be done, when it's going to be implemented, and how you are going to implement it in coordination with the downtown master plan.
Ms. Nielsen.
I don't have specifics to answer that question. We are at present putting together what will be incorporated into our interim agreement that will take us from 2025 into 2026, when we will incorporate the master plan and the responses and the results of the master plan into a further and longer term of a strategic plan. But I will certainly bring that forward once we have it in place.
Councillor.
Thank you for that, and through the chair, I do agree with that, by the way, because I do think that BIA's strategic plan needs to be aligned together with downtown business plan. So even if it's something interim to buy a certain number of months, but I'm going to go through the question to the staff. Ms. Nielsen, she mentioned by end of 2026. I know currently we had a timeline 13 months, which certainly would be less than end of 2026, which I was hoping to be even shorter. What time frame are we looking at right now at the downtown master plan? To the staff, through the chair, thank you.
Go to staff.
Thank you, through the chair. We are still on schedule progressing with that project. We are anticipating a return to council in Q2 2026 is our intended delivery date for that. Actually, while we've been sitting here, in your inbox, we have released the Get Involved survey, so our public engagement session has now launched.
Councillor.
Thank you. Have there been conversations with the consultant and trying to decrease the 13 months so we can push certain things forward faster?
Go to staff.
Thank you, through the chair. We have bi-weekly meetings with our consultant, regular project updates. We are cognizant of council's appetite for this plan and to have it in front of them to make some decisions. We will work with them to try to get this as soon as possible. It is a process. We want to make sure we take the process diligently and work through it and make sure that we cover all corners so that we can produce a well thought out confident plan that can provide a good service to Londoners for the next 10 years. So we are working through that project. We are on schedule. We continue to be on schedule. And if there's any delays or any changes in that, we will update council as appropriate.
Councillor.
Thank you, staff. And one last question to Ms. Nielsen. And I know you mentioned it during your presentation, but Project Pathways, and I'm hearing positive things from our London about our London Police initiative. And there's, for example, City Plaza, if the number I have correct, that they feel that, not that they feel, that their stat shows decrease of incidents by 40%. But I know you said the matrix are not available yet, but can you just elaborate a little bit more on this project and London Police initiative?
Ms. Nielsen.
Yeah, thank you. It's been hugely impactful. So for the time that it's been in place, as a resident of downtown London, as employee of a developer, I can tell you anecdotally that we have seen a decrease in incidences, just as City Plaza has, in reportable incidents. Now, what we're trying to develop is an across-the-board report as to pre-implementation of Project Pathways and post, and what that looks like to reportable incidences. But it has had a felt, measured, positive impact onto the streets and the businesses within our BIA.
Councillor.
Thank you very much. No more questions. The only comment I will have, and we do have some media present here, we do have positive things in downtown London, and I hope the media is going to spread this positive word throughout the entire London, so actually 500,000 of Londoners get to see how wonderful downtown is. Thank you.
Other comments or questions? Councillor Plaza.
Thank you. Maybe we just make it contingent upon any media interviews, making sure that they put out the good word of what London downtown's doing. Just kidding, I'll still talk to you. A question or a comment, I guess a couple of things, realizing I take care of South of South. I do appreciate staff recently engaging councillors for a walkabout of downtown. I know we come really comfortable with our words and what's going on, but I always appreciate knowing who has the best patios going on downtown, what the walking tours of those are, in addition to other things, realizing we serve on other boards. So I know at the Tourism London Board, we hear about the money from MAT tax and stuff going into the murals that are being painted and going up, but really lovely to have someone on site with you showing where that mural is, why it was considered for that place, the artist, and the impact and what local businesses see as the investment. I also share Councillor Cuddy's comment about, I know there's always fiscal concerns, availability of space, but I do miss the downtown BIA not having a door on the street, because I would walk in, I would chat with staff and see what's going on. And I know other business owners, as I do go out and engage in frolic in different words, you know, sometimes they question too, if my door can be open onto the street, why can't the BIA's? So just mindful of that. 2 questions for you to staff or the board chair. Page 34, I guess. It just talks to the London, but the Music and Arts Trail, celebrating our UNESCO City of Music, looking to see if any of that has had consideration of reaching out and looking for additional partnerships with Tourism London, realizing the music office sits there and there is municipal accommodation tax grants available when we try to do greater promotions to come and get more people here in heads and beds.
Ms. Nielsen.
So I'm sorry I can't comment directly to that. I don't have direct knowledge of it. I believe that any opportunity for collaboration is going to benefit everybody, so I'd be more than happy to have our team reach out and see what those opportunities are.
Would staff be able to comment on that?
If, Ms. Nielsen, if you have a staff member that could speak to that, but if you don't, that's fine too. It's,
I'll invite Brent.
okay.
Good afternoon. I'm Brent Hodson, the Marketing and Communications Manager of Downtown London. Councillor Pelosa, it was Music and Arts Trails celebrating UNESCO designation, looking at additional partnership with Music Office and Grants. Can you just repeat a little bit of your question again?
Yeah, so just looking at, as we have different partners in different spaces, animating different things, looking to see, I know that there was a team up with the Tourism London for the mural painting. That was lovely, looks great. Looking to see what kind of other opportunities have you considered, realizing there is money out there to help elevate some of the events that you're doing, to get more, not even just Londoners, but other people from the region and elsewhere to come in and fill our hotels and enjoy your events and patronize your businesses.
Okay, so
please go ahead.
So what I'm getting is two different discussions here. One is the Arts and Music Trail is a self-guided trail program that people are able to check in once they're at those locations where they receive points that they can then redeem for Downtown Dollar gift cards, swag bag prizes. As well, recently in the last couple of months, we've done some pop-up prizing with Canada Life Place and the Grand Theatre, and giving people the opportunity to win tickets to some of their events. And then with our actual events, we are sponsoring some of the stuff with the Music Office, including their Market Lane programming that is coming up. We have not had a discussion about other grant opportunities with them, but of course our door is open to those discussions, as we have a lot of event coordinators coming to us looking for funding opportunities for their events that take place up Richmond Row, Victoria Park, Dundas Place, and soon to be the Covent Garden Market new space once that's finished renovating. So we are definitely open to those discussions. We just haven't had that many yet.
Councillor.
Thank you. As there's Dundas Place activations, I've spoken to business owners. They love it. They love to know when it's coming so they can plan things accordingly within their businesses. Can I ask, how has the communication been for Runway when it's possible to let the businesses know? Of just looking to see how that information is shared, that we're going to activate something, or one party is going to activate it, the BIA is going to know, business is going to know, or the BIA wants to do something and the city gets a heads up.
Please go ahead.
So we sit on a activation board with Dundas Place, Museum London, the Grand Theatre, Tap Creativity, Canada Life Place, Fanshawe. There's quite a number of partners that meet regularly to discuss what's going on for each of us. So there is that we learn from each other on what's coming up. With Dundas Place, we also work with them quite closely in looking at their events. We share a lot of their information on our social media. Plus, we also include their events in our monthly calendars, which are created by the mid of the month. So right now we're looking at creating July's calendar, so we're accepting all that information. Once that's completed, we have it printed and delivered, not this month due to the potential Canada Post strike, but next month, possibly. A copy of that calendar is distributed by Canada Post to every business in our downtown area, as well as it's posted online and sent out through our Business Insider, which is our member-focused newsletter. So that goes out to all the businesses as well, so they have access to all the events that we've been able to collect and put on our list.
Councillor.
Thank you. I don't believe that councillors or members of council are on that list. If you consider adding us, I would love to know and help cross-promote stuff within my circles as well.
Perfect. We will definitely add you.
Other comments or questions? The committee will permit me. I've got a question for Ms. Nielsen. You can see by the questions and just, the day-to-day stuff that the staff at the BIA goes through and the board. And there's a challenge unique, I think, to the downtown BIA in that there's a lot of overlap with city-led initiatives. And yet you represent your members to, they pay you levies to improve the business area that how do you manage that? How do you manage the requests of the city, the city-led initiatives like Dundas Place, et cetera, with your mandate to serve your members?
So if I'm understanding correctly, we work we work closely with the city in order to create the opportunities that we then pass on to our members. So, we have 4 pillars, and of course, I'm only going to remember 2 of them right now, but one of them, most important, is advocacy. And that's where our alignment crosses over with the city, and we come presenting information and points of view that are specific to the members of our BIA. In serving our BIA, the funds that translate from the city, from the levy, translate through us into initiatives that directly support dollar for dollar to our businesses. They support clean initiatives and beautification and all of the things that make it worthwhile to have a business downtown. And the third one that I like to consider sort of the really important part, or one of the important parts, is then we have to project that image to the greater community so that we drive the business back into downtown. So that's where we work at. But the interface between the city and our board, we look at through advocacy and implementation of funds or process.
Okay, thank you. It's a tough question, I know that, because it's a unique beast. So I'll just say from the chair, echo what other councillors have said. There is for sure a change happening, a positive change. I want to just comment on the your members and your staff and board. Resiliency comes to mind. That's the word, because there certainly have been dark days in the past number of years through the situation downtown, COVID, et cetera, that I honestly believe are changing, as been mentioned. And I think the challenge for the board and your staff is to, and I think you're doing that today, quite frankly, is to continue to do that, to get the word out. Because there's a narrative out there. I'm out in the West End that, well, I don't go downtown anymore. Maybe for nights games, but I don't go downtown anymore. It's changing. We have to continue to tell people the story that is changing. And as that virtuous cycle happens, which I think we're seeing now, we're going to see great things. I think it's a very exciting time for your staff and your board to be part of this story, as I think this council reflects as well. And London, I mean, without the heartbeat, I think Councillor Trusseau said that earlier, which I agree. Every great city has a great heartbeat, and the downtown is that. So thank you for your work. Thanks for bringing this report to us today, to continue that conversation, to highlight the positive things that are happening for our downtown. Thanks. So any other comments or questions? Okay, we got a motion to receive and seconded. I'll call that vote.
Closing the vote, the motion carries 5-0.
Okay. So we have no items for direction, deferred matters or additional business, no. It leaves adjournment. I'll look for motion to adjourn. Councillor Cuddy, second by Councillor Hillier, hand vote.
Motion carries.
Thank you, we are adjourned.